We are back for CubeCon, Wizards of the Coast versus Wisconsin 3v3 team draft, and we get to see our featured drafter Caleb Durward piloting. What is Caleb piloting, Andy?
I think we should call it taking all the turns. We're trying not to let our opponent take any turns with Caleb's deck. A lot of ways to loop through the entire deck, and just if you were here before we went to break, we were doing a little over-under on how many extra turns we thought Caleb was going to take. I said 12, you said 9. We did ask Caleb, and he said 18?
18?
So
18.
Definitely looking to text. He said it depends how soon they scoop as to how many extra turns I actually take. So that's a pretty big statement.
So Caleb's taking all the turns, and Gwen is on what I am, and we looked at all of these decks, and I got to say, Caleb's deck's pretty sweet. We might be seeing the sweetest deck at the table.
Gwen's deck's a little scary.
Gwen Decker has drafted a monster. I don't think there's any other way to say it. Bolus's Tinkertown.
Bolus's Tinkertown. You love to hear it.
Bolus's Tinkertown. That is what Gwen is going to be working with. Not only are we working with a Tinker into Bolus's Citadel combo, but we have a couple of Moxen hanging around in color.
We got quite a bit of power in that deck.
Little Mox Sapphire,
a lot of ramp,
little Mox Jet.
We answered one question. Signets. We know that the Tinker and the Bolus's Citadel did end up in the same deck, and they're getting played. So that's one of the mysteries of the team draft resolved.
That is. Now we have unlocked the mysteries personally, but we're going to keep those secrets from chat for a little while.
Yes. You gotta have a little tension.
You gotta go along the journey, right? You can't just get all of the information up front.
Looks like we are getting opening hands now. Is this Gwen already on a mulligan, maybe? I saw Gwen pull a hand and now shuffling his whole deck up, so it could be taking a mulligan here.
I imagine with the amount of interaction Caleb's deck, or lack thereof, Gwen is going to be...
bounce your thing.
Gwen is going to be able to mulligan very successfully here. A lot of opportunity to just find a hand that is going to explode out the gate.
I was going to say, do you think that Gwen is going to be trying to stop Caleb's deck at all? Or is this just purely a who can go bigger, faster? Let's see which deck is better and on the proactive side of things.
I got to think it's a who can go bigger, faster type 2. Because we have two decks that are really maximizing the fact that this is a vintage cube.
Right? Yes, absolutely. Decks that are arguably not possible without their key cards, your Tinkers, your Time Walks. These decks are definitely leaning hard on the powerful cards they have.
We have 4 2.5 pieces of power between all of these decks because also in Gwen's deck, in addition to the 2 on-color Moxen, we also have a Mishra's Workshop and a Mana Drain.
I wonder if the Workshop is seeing play. We have the pools. We don't have the actual decks. Did you see that in his main deck?
I don't think so.
It's Workshop is a real tough build around, and we didn't get, he didn't get the Golem. The Lodestone Golem, which is one of the key pieces to that deck, I think. So we see a turn 1 important. Now, here's a great example.
Love to see it.
Justin, let me just say, here's a great example.
Please regale me a
Here's a great example of how Portent is exactly as good as Ponder, because what else is Caleb going to do with his mana on this turn? Who cares when he draws that card? Right now, Portent doing a perfect Ponder impersonation, getting that shuffle, give me a fresh new 3 is what Caleb says.
I love that alliteration on that, and it's going to be exactly right. So now, we got the potential fire that's coming out with Gwen here.
We'll see how much fast mana we got as this game starts to evolve.
Island.
Island and better Island. And a Signet.
A Signet.
We'll be untapping with at least 3 mana on turn 2. 4 if we hit our land drop for Gwen.
And we could just be seeing, we could be going to Tinkertown as early as turn 2 as Caleb plays a Simic Signet.
Just so dearthfully lays that Signet on turn 2 like a chump. You should be playing your Signets on turn 1, clearly. We do see that land drop from Gwen.
This is some slow tapping. That's the speed you want to tap something when you do have a Tinker on the second turn.
That's the speed you want to tap something when the thing you're tapping is worth about as much as a small car.
We have another Signet still on Tinker mana.
So I think the question here,
please, Gwen,
for Gwen's deck, are we going to see the Tinker?
Please show it to me.
That is not a Tinker.
That is an
don't know what that is.
Rampage.
That is not what I expected to see.
Not an Angrass Rampage.
I mean, it does something. And a Goblin Welder. Now, I will say this. Gwen's deck, sick. A lot of powerful cards. The thing about running a lot of Artifact Ramp is that those are really just mana sources. They are kind of air in your deck. So if you're playing 16, 17 lands and what we're seeing here is already 3 mana rocks, you're starting to run out of actual cards that do things, that kill your opponent, that, take over the game. I think the one situation Gwen could run into that could be a problem is just not drawing action.
I think that is equally possible on both sides, but
Justin, look what happened while we weren't paying attention. Is this a channel Kozilek by the brilliant Caleb Durward? Brilliant and skilled. Are we going to draw 4 cards here with channel still live? Is that what's going to happen?
In shambles right now.
In shambles. Absolute shambles.
So
I mean, this is the dream, right?
This is.
I guess it wasn't turn 2, so it's not quite the dream.
It's
but
not. Yeah, we took a turn off by virtue of probably not having a second green mana on the second turn of the game.
Exactly. Yes. If we had the
mana...
breeding pool, we probably would have seen that turn 2.
Well.
And it must be said, now we immediately see a hostage taker to answer that Kozilek from Gwen.
A hostage taker, that is incredible. Look at that interaction.
So Gwen not really sweating this too bad. I mean, we did draw 4 cards off of the and now we got the Mystical Tutor. Undoubtedly finding Time Walk, I would guess.
I think he's legally responsible to find Time Walk off Mystical Tutor.
So Kozilek got answered. However, we did draw the 4 cards, so that's something. Was it worth 10 life? And also make your opponent play their hostage taker? Hard to say. Gwen not going to be casting that Kozilek anytime soon, it must be said. So that's just really going to be exiled under that hostage taker for a minute.
I would say that is fairly likely, but you did allude to all of that useless artifact mana.
It's true. We got to go a little higher before we get there. Ooh, we're going to see a Planeswalker into untapped Time Walk mana. You love to see it.
Yeah, that is a combination of the highest order.
Get a little more value out of that extra turn by ticking up a Planeswalker.
Gwen's body language is showing you exactly how they feel about the Time Walk, which is
maybe a tiny bit defeated.
Maybe a little bit. Now, there are some big artifact bangers in Gwen's deck, including Mindslaver and Wormcoil Engine. Those are both quite good with Goblin Welder.
They are going to close the game out pretty quick if we see them resolve here. Let's just take another Planeswalker here. Start building up a board presence. Now, I mean, I think Caleb does have to be... Oh, beautiful. Of course, we see the bounce on the hostage taker. Kozilek comes back into play. Pretty powerful 2 turns here from Caleb to reclaim dominance this game.
A blue mana and a generic mana.
What could possibly that represent?
What could that represent?
And I mean, this deck seems so proactive. There's no way it's running, say, a mana leak, right?
Certainly not.
Old Knight's Whisper. 2 mana divination. You love to see it.
That's a better rate to draw cards than Kozilek.
Per life, it is. Yeah, that's true.
Per mana. But, Kozilek is back on the board with hostage takers being bounced, and I think Gwen was most likely looking for a 4th mana source to probably recast that Kozilek playing stuff back on curve.
Recast that hostage taker.
Recast the hostage taker, which I did say mana source because we did find it.
There's another mana source.
Mox Jet. Caleb.
That's exactly where you want to have that mana leak.
Caleb played that mana leak so quickly he might need a wrist brace for his left hand.
It's also that's a really key moment in this game, I would say. The fact that we saw that hostage taker get countered, something that maybe Gwen was thinking about. I mean, obviously Gwen knows that Caleb knows that is back in his hand, and that if not answered in some way, it's going to take the Kozilek again. So you might assume, if possible, Caleb is going to have an answer to it, and he did in fact have that. But I mean, are you going to sit there and do nothing? You're not going to do nothing. You got to make him have it.
Of course not. And you say key moment in the game. It could be the end of the game.
Could be. We'll see. We'll see if we find a regrowth here for that Time Walk, and then we might see a dejected. I'm gonna keep track of these extra turns. We're already at 1.
That's smart. That's smart. We don't have a pen in the booth.
Yeah, but this is 2022. We don't have pens in the booth, but we'll keep track of it.
We have phones. 1 extra turn for Caleb Durward, and this game is going to be whether or not that Gwen. The fact that I think headed towards a game 1 loss, this is probably going to be pretty indicative of how this matchup is going to play out overall.
We're seeing a primal command on the stack. Now, this is more interaction that we were maybe a little bit dismissive of.
Half a plow under.
And that will, in fact, cause Gwen to scoop it up. So, mana leak, winning game 1, I would say, pretty handily.
Mana leak, winning game 1.
And it must be said, channel, because that mana leak protecting the channel out threat. Again, another reminder as to why Justin and I are in the booth and not sitting at that table.
That's true. As we both absolutely dug into channel, both of us equally during the draft commentary.
Check the VODs, everybody. Check the VODs. Now, we're going to sideboards here. I don't know whether Caleb is main decking that Reclamation Sage, but safe to say we will definitely see Reclamation Sage come in out of the sideboard. No doubt.
No question. Now, I want to note that Primal Command acting as its own time walk of sort in that scenario, which Caleb could not resist.
Yes.
And maybe that's why Caleb slammed that Primal Command so quickly, knowing the secret time walk mode.
Caleb sees through the matrix. Caleb always sees an extra turn. He can always find it, no matter what you're looking at. I'm not sure what else we're going to see out of a sideboard here. We do have a Thieving Skydiver in Caleb's pool, which may or may not have been in his main deck. Here's a question for you. You're on the draw now. Do you side out that mana leak now that your opponent is maybe playing around it regardless?
I don't think so. I think from what we've seen in the first game, Gwen's deck, while it is currently very mana efficient as far as being able to play sources out quickly, is using all of that mana every turn. And
importantly, we saw so much artifact mana. Again, those cards kind of effectively air. If you have that one counterspell for that one card that matters, in this case, a Hostage Taker, the entire game can hinge on that.
And that's exactly how we saw it play out.
The value of that mana leak goes up quite a bit, I think, in that situation.
I will note that Caleb drew every piece of opponent interaction in his deck.
All of them.
In that game.
All 2 of them.
2.5.
2.5, sure.
2.5.
Although I think we're going to see more interaction in game 2, though, for sure. We're going to see that Reclamation Sage. I think we're going to see that Thieving Skydiver. And who knows what other tricks he has up his sleeve.
You're absolutely right. We know the Reclamation Sage is coming in. Gwen has the possibility to take a slightly more aggressive stance with some of the red cards in the sideboard. Bomat Courier, Dragon's Rage Channeler, Sulphurous Vortex, but it doesn't seem like their deck is really set up to take advantage of that, and that's really...
You could argue Sulphuric Vortex, after seeing Channel game 1, is not...
Channel into Time Walk?
I mean...
Take 2. All your time walks.
That's making Sulphuric Vortex look pretty darn good, so you could maybe see that come out just because you saw Caleb using his life total as such an effective resource in game 1. Limit that resource.
That's true. That's true.
Who knows?
I would love to, and you know what?
Looks like we have Caleb on a keep and Gwen mulliganing his first 7.
And, Gwen on the draw, being able to play things...
I imagine Gwen is on the play this game, right?
Yes, sorry. Thank you. Gwen on the play, being able to play stuff out much earlier than probably every other person in the draft. Those key sideboard cards that might be fringe when you can play them early are quite powerful. More attractive in his deck than most others.
The other sideboard tech we might see out of Caleb is there is a Relic of Progenitus that I really doubt was in the main deck, and we could see that come in to deal with Goblin Welder shenanigans.
Well, we didn't see any shenanigans. We know they are always afoot.
It's true. And Caleb he's pretty well insulated from the target your stuff mode of Goblin Welder, which is a particularly fun way to use it, not having very many artifacts in his own deck.
That's true. We have Yorga Tree Speaker for Caleb, which is going to supercharge his mana on the 3rd turn of the game. Probably going to be taking the 2nd turn off to level that up.
This is a removal check here, I would say.
You know what? These are the type of removal checks I like to do. I'm going to play this on turn 1. I'm going to give you 1 turn. You have a turn to deal with it, and then I'm off to the races.
That turn, you're not even really taking off, right? If you get to level it up, you still get your 2 mana for that turn. You just get it out of that Tree Speaker instead of from your lands.
They have to have an instant speed removal spell to really punish it.
That's how you really get. That's how you really get got with Tree Speaker.
So we see a Tundra.
Refer to the notes.
I am referring to the notes.
Swamp into Demir's Signet, so again, just setting up mana on Gwen's side of the battlefield.
I would imagine that Tundra is because we have Marsh Flats to get blue mana.
I see. We do see a successfully leveled up Draga Tree Speaker into Fast Bond.
Off to the races. How many
we got?
So
how many we can be dropping here?
A 1.
That's 1. 1 left. Fast Bond, another thing, maybe a little bit suspect against the Sulphuric Vortex.
That's true.
Especially if you're going to be doing the wheel Fast Bond thing, which I would expect Gwen, seeing what he's seen out of Caleb's deck, could assume there are probably some wheels in there.
And we have only 1 land. And something about Fast Bond, for people that don't play with this card very much, you don't necessarily want to play 100% of your lands out just because. You often want to basically play as many as you're going to make sure you can use.
Exactly.
Or sometimes -1 if you're just going to play 1 next turn, which is going to save you a life as long as you're not able to utilize it in the same turn. And I see that's a mistake I see people make every once in a while.
I think in general, the heuristic that people learn by playing Magic, we're seeing a Tinker here. So I expect a Bolas' Citadel out of Gwen Decker's Bolas Tinkertown deck, so aptly named by my beautiful co-host. And we get to see how lucky he is off the top of the deck. We have burned one fetch land. I love to hold my fetch lands when I have my Bolas of Citadel, so we must have needed that mana source in order to get the game rolling.
May have been necessary. I would imagine that the Tinker or the Signet came after that first turn on the play. So, But we have Citadel, so we are essentially doing the opposite of what Caleb had with Channel into Kozilek, and now we have Tinker into Citadel.
Now we just have Channel all the time for cards on top of your deck.
That's true.
Including colored mana source. This is pretty good. Channel's a pretty good effect, you know?
Might be a good effect. It's better on Bolas of Citadel, in my opinion.
Oh, I agree. Bolas of Citadel, one of my favorite cards of all time.
But,
a Faithless Looting. That is going to help find action. Now, Gwen, interestingly, not looking at the card before drawing it, I guess you can't do an instant in the middle of resolving the Faithless Looting. So
you can look,
yeah,
but it's not going to help you much. You can take a little peek-see. It's a free game action, doesn't use the stack.
Anyway, we'll get to say about Fast Bond while Gwen is considering his Faithless Looting here. The heuristic so often with Magic you learn is that you always want to play your lands out, right? Even if you have nothing to do with the mana now, you may draw a card draw next turn or whatever. And the way Fast Bond breaks that is that you can play any number of lands you want. So if you do draw a card draw next turn, you can just play those lands you've been sandbagging 2-3 lands and still take advantage of it. So I agree. The play patterns with Fast Bond a little different than maybe people are used to.
That is just...
you love to see it.
Get to play 15 lands, 2 Moxen, in your Bolas of Citadel deck. That's powerful Magic right there.
So we know Caleb has a number of answers to that Citadel in his deck, and being maybe pressed for one of those answers now. Now, do you, if you are Gwen, go for that Citadel on turn 3, or do you wait to have a land drop up so you can dig that much deeper with your?
I actually would wait to have a land drop.
I think I would too.
It's so critical.
Under no pressure right now. I think I would
too. So critical to clear that land off the top of your deck.
Yeah.
In situations exactly like this.
Yeah. Because, I mean, if it does eat removal right now, which it looks like it's not going to, could see it get bounced, which could be a problem. Or is that only creatures?
That's only creatures with Jace. But, Jace digging 3, finding a couple of lands and a removal spell for the Citadel. Well, I guess we're really only looking at, one land and a Reclamation Sage would do it off the Jace.
Yeah, we have mana off the Tree Speaker there, so all we need is one land and that Rex Sage. Also could be tempting to wait till we get maybe a little more mana and Thieving Skydiver that Citadel.
Well, that is
I can imagine Caleb would be pretty darn happy to have that Citadel on his side of the battlefield.
I think if Caleb had the opportunity to Thieving Skydiver, he would specifically wait till he had the mana to make that play.
Yes, certainly.
That is a Caleb Durward play I've ever heard one.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate Glenn taking the opportunity to look at the top of their deck just because they can.
Oh, it's good to remind yourself, You see one more land drop, 2 more land drops. That's a lot of mana, folks.
All parts of the Buffalo.
And here's the Reclamation Sage. Without even tapping the Draga Tree Speaker. So we get to actually attack with the Draga Tree Speaker? Are we on Draga Tree Speaker beatdown?
We are on Draga Tree Speaker beatdown.
So maybe Gwen getting a little punished here for not waiting a turn to play that Citadel and perhaps get more action off the top of his deck.
Because the worst part, we knew a land was on top.
See a flashback Faithless Looting. Dig for something to do here.
We drew a mana drain,
and a Signet.
A mana drain and a Signet, and mana drain could be too little too late, as a pretty established board for Caleb is putting itself together. All the mana in the world, Jace the Mind Sculptor with absolutely no pressure on it.
I do believe Caleb is hellbent, so we are coming off the top of the deck, but with such a dominating board presence, so many really live draws, and Jace to find those live draws. Definitely a very scary board to be staring down.
From where I'm sitting, Caleb just has the most game pieces, and that's generally where you want to be.
Mm-hmm. Now, we also see Gwen running out this Mox Sapphire on that turn. Do you think that represents some sort of instant speed interaction?
I would hope so. I don't think that there's a very good reason to play it otherwise.
Yeah, I don't see a reason to play it otherwise.
And we know there's a mana drain in hand, which it could be very good. Obviously there's a lot of very mana drainable cards in Caleb's deck, which Gwen has seen.
Here's a fun question for you.
I'm gonna attempt to.
A little bit of attacking, kind of an underwhelming turn maybe, given all of the resources.
I would attempt to not counter the channel, because if we're looking at potentially casting something off the channel on Caleb's own, he has 8 mana.
Mm-hmm.
How far away could you possibly be?
All right, we can see a little staring each other back and forth. This tree speaker could go the whole distance.
So Chad is asking, what is the fun question? I think the audio might have dicked out.
Oh yeah, the fun question was, do you mana drain the channel if your opponent puts channel on the stack, or do you hope to mana drain whatever they cast with the channel, with the risk of maybe it being an uncounterable spell like an Emrakul?
Well, we do have an Ulamog that is counterable, but is going to chomp some things down on its way out.
Those cast triggers, pretty rough in this situation. So here comes the mana drain, though. You got to do it, even though you're getting those cast triggers on Ulamog.
Yeah, this mana drain is a bit performative in what it's going to be doing.
Right now, mana drain's looking a lot like counterspell,
Looks
I
a
hand.
lot like Counterspell,
I don't
yeah.
know what else is in Gwen's hand, but we've seen a couple turns passing back without doing anything.
You know what I would love to see? I would love to see a top deck Mindslaver from Gwen right here.
This would be quite beautiful. How much damage could Gwen do with a turn behind the driver's seat of... No, we see a Portent. No, it's Jace. I'm sorry. We're fate sealing there with Jace.
I thought we assume it's always a Portent.
I thought we had a Portent targeting Gwen, but no, that's a fate seal with Jace. Leaving it on top, and no doubt Gwen's heart sinking at that prospect. Go to my first main phase, get 10 mana, and pass the turn.
The clutches are closing in on Gwen. Maybe not from a life total perspective, but Jace with no action in hand is a sentence worse than death.
If I'm Gwen, I feel like I have gotten lucky to still be alive at this point. There's been a few turns where Caleb has done very little with all of these resources, and Gwen also not finding an answer though. So
Caleb did just cast Ulamog.
It resulted in doing very little. That's true.
That's fair. I just think that the amount of live draws that Caleb has at this point with Jace are, we're talking. It's only a matter of time. Even something like a Primal Command going to get your other Eldrazi is just going to be brutal.
Utterly fantastic. Longer turn here. Caleb in the tank a little bit, thinking about his play.
Caleb may not need to Primal Command for that other Eldrazi. I thought I might have snuck a peek of Kozilek in hand.
Oh boy.
I could be wrong.
Oh boy. This is a lot of mana we see, so this could be maybe a scoop.
Survey says I was not wrong.
Survey says Kozilek.
Yeah.
Trigger draw 4 with my Fast Bond in play and a dominating board presence.
Gwen probably going to start thinking about his next round matchup pretty soon here.
Maybe thinking about lunch.
This would be a lunchtime. I'm thinking about lunch since we've... And you know what? I appreciate that. Just attack for 2.
I mean, don't miss your chance to get a little damage in.
Yeah.
Don't give it away for free.
Don't give it away for free, despite what
right.
Jace is saying.
Here we go. Knight's Whisper.
We have one of the competitors. I won't say who, but I will tell you what they did. They walked past us, and proudly put their hands in the air in a pumping fashion.
There was some fist pumping, I believe is what the kids call it.
There was some fist pumping.
Gwen looking around at all the various game pieces in his hand and on the battlefield and wondering, is there anything I can do? And decides, no, there is not. Scooping it up. Round 1 goes to Caleb at 2-0, pretty decisive.
I can't disagree with the scoop there.
That's the
not
kind of
much
situation,
to play for with a Jace.
That's the kind of situation where you're like, do I have balance in my deck? If I don't, maybe there's not many outs here.
I don't know if balance was an out.
I mean, they got 2 planeswalkers, so balance probably wasn't going to do great, but it was going to buy you some time, maybe.
Well, I can confidently say we saw Caleb's deck do exactly what it set out to do in round 1.
Only took 1 extra turn. I'm a little disappointed. We could have seen some more extra turns.
That's true.
Out of Caleb.
That's 1 match down. 1 extra turn taken. I set the line at 9.5.
So far, it's definitely trending your direction. So we'll see what happens in rounds 2 and 3. Or we'll rather hear what happens in rounds 2 and 3.
That's true.
In the next couple of rounds, we're going to be following the other players. So we get to see everybody's deck at this team draft. So we're going to get to see Gavin's deck. We're going to get to see Sam Black's deck. We're going to get to see everybody playing, so you get a little taste of what happened to this entire table.
Yeah, so let's we have a question from our producer. Should we watch a game 2 of Sam and Gavin?
I don't see why not.
I don't see why not. I say if we got the time, let's do it. All right. we're going to set up here. And we do not know. We don't have. We do have Sam and Gavin's deck list.
We do. We can
Beautiful.
fill 'em up. I'm over here. I'm helping.
Beautiful.
Here is Sam's deck list for you.
Okay.
I'll take Gavin's.
Oh wait, no. I want Gavin's. You take Sam's.
Oh, okay. All right, because we're on teams. That's right.
Whoa.
I definitely
your words, not
I definitely
mine.
didn't forget my immediate fealty to the state of Wisconsin.
Yes.
I would never forget such a thing. J-Bro would have my head on a stick.
So we have.
What was the outcome of game 1? Looks like we're still updating the records here. So it's obviously not 2-0 Sam Black at this point because we are going to game 2.
We'll get it going. Caleb, coming. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Appropriate. Thank you. Caleb gave me a very special thumbs up.
Mm-hmm. That's a thumbs up that says, "Did you see the channel I cast and won the game?"
Was absolutely specifically putting the channel in his deck to rub it in my face and
drawing his sideboard card exactly when he needed it. With that,
so far, drawing his game 1 sideboard card right when he needed it.
All right, so it looks like Sam Black took game 1 in this matchup here against Gavin Verhey. 2 titans of the game going at it here for sure.
Gavin, I know, was cooler on his deck than he was hoping.
Yeah, I mean, I think your expectations are high when you're coming into a draft like this, where there's so much trash talking, so much on the line in terms of personal pride, and of course on stream. So you want to do the best you can, and Gavin was not thrilled with how his deck turned out.
Not thrilled with that hand either as he throws it back.
I got to say, being a fan of Sam's and looking at Sam's draft pool, I think Sam Black has done Sam Black things. I'm seeing lots of non-basic lands and lots of colors of cards. So we're going to see maybe a greedier deck that's going to be high in terms of the card quality and taking advantage of Sam's skill as a pilot, perhaps, to gain the edge.
And we got to name these decks.
That's true. We do have to name them.
We got to name them. You want me to go first? You want to go first?
You went first last time. I'm going to call Sam Black's deck. The thing is, I don't know what he's main decking is the thing. So let's just call it the Rainbow Demolisher.
The Rainbow Demolisher. I like that.
Now watch we get into the game and it turns out that Sam's actually only playing 2 of these colors. I don't know. I'm thinking we're seeing at least 3 or 4 colors out of Sam Black.
Spoiler alert, I believe Sam Black has Fielded in his opening hand, so I think you can be right.
Yes, that'll do it.
Fielded Dead, one of my absolute favorite cube cards.
I was slow to come around on that one, but I totally agree. It is it's such a cool card. It's got cool interactions with various ways to tutor lands out of your deck, and then it's also just a great win condition in a control deck. You just go long and say, I'm just going to make a zombie every turn now, and so I'm going to win this game eventually. All right, turn 2, Kitesail Freebooter here out of Gavin, revealing a pretty stacked hand from Sam with, I believe we saw an Oko in there, Pyroclasm. So Oko and Pyroclasm in the hand. That's I'd say it's a Sam Black hand.
That is absolutely. So we got to name Gavin's deck. Based on this deck list, we're going to call this the Black Mid-Range Plague.
Okay, great.
It's while there's black cards, it's mainly just a plague of mid-range.
Mm-hmm.
So we looking at the deck list of the cards that were drafted. I will pat myself on the back, a half pat, because I did correctly identify who drafted the High Tide and Time Spiral.
You did. It's true.
And such, and that's Gavin Verhey. If you look at the board and you see Swamp Gaia's Cradle, you'll notice that the exact thing we said could possibly happen and feared might did. Picks.
You spend picks on those cards, and then the deck doesn't come together, and you're forced to play a mid-range deck, it looks like, in a Vintage Cube. I would say this deck is not taking full advantage of the power available in a cube like this, which sometimes just happens, right? We've all been there. We all have a draft that goes a little sideways, and I think that's a little bit where Gavin is at this point.
I can respect that Gavin tried to do the cool thing and ended up doing the black-green thing.
Now, we are seeing a somewhat decent start from Gavin here, though I can't tell if there are things that are... I have a hard time reading the cards that are in play here.
Looks like we have an Unis Prowler. We have a Kitesail Freebooter that has taken Oko.
We have a leveled up Hex Drinker now.
Swamp.
Is that Gilded Goose Forest on Sam Black's side of the battlefield?
Gilded Goose and 2 food.
So yeah, a little bit lackluster on the board presence over there from Sam. With that Oko, of course, being touched with that Kaiso Freebooter. That's what I would take too.
And while we could be working with a mid-range mess, we do have Gaia's Cradle supercharging that Hex Drinker to make it Progenitus at home pretty quick.
Yeah. And Progenitus at home, still pretty good, it turns out.
Sam's deck is so varied that I wouldn't even want to predict what he could possibly play without seeing those cards that are face down, because it's going to be solely dependent.
You know what? My bad. I'm not sure if it is a Pyroclasm. I think that might be Wildfire. That makes a lot more sense because you're probably going to take the Pyroclasm with the Kitesail freebooter, or maybe make him spend it on the freebooter. But yeah, definitely not what we're looking at over there. So Wildfire, not great in this spot, I would say.
No, Pyroclasm would have definitely been slightly better, but.
And was that a Kodama's Reach?
I believe that's.
We definitely saw Land
Golos.
Play. Oh, Golos.
Tireless
Much better.
Pilgrim.
Much better.
Already with best friend Field of the Dead on the battlefield, so going to get a fetch land instead, hopefully to double trigger that Field of the Dead on a later turn.
Yeah. So, I mean, Sam is under a lot of pressure here. We are going to likely see this Progenitus turn into something that has protection from Sam, which is going to be unblockable. That's some quick damage. Needs to find an answer.
And fast. That 13, looking like we have one blocker here. That is going to put Sam potentially on after this turn on a one-turn clock.
Yeah,
could be facing his last turn of the game, because Hexdrinker is now a 6/6 with protection from everything, including Wildfire, Golos,
all those zombie tokens.
All
we
those
see a
future
Chupacabra
zombie
on the Golos. Don't let you get a chance to maybe activate that and pull out some sort of cheesy win. Now, this is a very important top deck here for Sam, I dare say.
And Sam going all the way down to 3, not discarding anything to Una's Prowler to reduce that damage. We could be seeing the food tokens be activated for their rare gain 3 life mode.
Hey, that comes up more often than not in my experience.
It does,
actually, it's
does.
actually pretty relevant.
It does.
So if this game is taken down by Gavin here, we see a lot of this game comes down to that Kitesail freebooter on Oko. I mean, without that, I think this game goes way differently.
Yes.
So a little bit of an interaction can go a long way.
Sam able to Wildfire this turn.
That may be a Char even? We got some people in the chat thinking maybe it's a Char.
It is a Wildfire, I think.
So
actually,
hard to say.
I think it's a Burning of Zinri.
Oh, that actually looks right.
That's what it is.
That looks
it's
right.
It's a Burning of Zinri.
Yeah. So Sam passing the turn, saying, I guess make you kill me with Progenitus, a.k.a. Hexdrinker.
And I think that Gavin is going to attempt to take him up on it.
I would attack here if I was Gavin. That's my hot take.
Bold. And that's good. Now Gavin's down 1, so that could have been a choice in game 1 he didn't take. Maybe going to fix his mistake in game 2.
This is like a magic puzzle. You know those puzzles they put in magazines? Like, what do you do in this
magic
spot?
Puzzling.
Yeah.
So the question is, Sam has somewhere between 2 and 3 cards in his hand.
Now, Gavin's just thinking, what could you possibly have? Why didn't you scoop already, right? Is that what we're thinking here?
That would be what I'm thinking. Well, we know about the burning, and we obviously could prevent some damage to Una's Prowler with a discard.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this board state is almost irrelevant except for that Hexdrinker.
I have to believe there is something important we don't know about in Sam's hand.
I mean, we do have 2 food, it looks like, so we can gain 6 life, which we're going to do right now. Oh, having some app problems.
We're going to go to 8, despite the inability to change that on their
Look, technology's hard.
It's tough. Okay, going to go to 8.
And do we have enough blockers here to absorb? Discard to Una's Prowler.
You must discard 2
to Una's Prowler to make it -1 power, and you go to 1.
Go to 1. And I have to imagine that
I really respect Sam playing to his outs in this situation. A lot of people would have scooped it up.
And I'm really curious what Sam's discarding. I think he's going to keep that burning.
I mean, that's one of the only things that can maybe clean up some of this, but you still need an answer to that Hexdrinker. And there are perilously few in the game of Magic overall, much less in Sam Black's deck.
Yeah, fewer and fewer by the minute. Sam agonizing over what's going to get discarded as Una's Prowler, and a decision must be made lest Sam dies. So we just need 2 cards pitched.
You know, I'm looking right now through Sam Black's draft pool, and I'm trying my darndest to find a thing that can answer that Hexdrinker. and struggling to.
So we discarded. I think it may have just been 2 lands. It's certainly 1 land. And I'm not
Made
quite
of
sure
food
what
with the
other-
goose on the way out.
Not sure what the other thing was. So at a technical 4, Sam could be. So looks like, okay, looks like it was 2 lands. It was Temple Garden and Mountain, and looks like Sam is pulling back the Mountain instead of getting rid of Sheldock Isle. So the hand for Sam, Mountain and Burning.
So looking through the pool, there is one thing that Sam is, I would say, definitely digging to, and that is Council's Judgment, which is a card that doesn't actually target, gets around protection, printed kind of as an answer to True Name Nemesis, and I think Sam is kind of on Council's Judgment or Bust. That is not a Council's Judgment, and we will be busting.
Yeah.
On to game 3. That's good for us. We get more Magic to play.
Absolutely. Free Magic is good Magic. Council Judgment would have been
Still in a really bad spot. Let's
Still
be
not
honest.
a good spot.
Still in a really bad spot, but maybe you have more live draws from that point.
with an additional attacker. You can still hold those other 2 cards in your hand because you can Council's Judgment. You still don't have Oko. Not a really good way to get Oko.
Now, that situation, we saw the life gain from Gilded Goose buy Sam a whole extra turn. Would you call Gilded Goose a time walk?
Caleb would.
Caleb would.
I'm sure of that. Gilded
That's
Goose.
the power of seeing through the Matrix.
Gilded Goose, very, very powerful 1-mana creature. It is looks innocuous on its face because sometimes you're only able to get 1 use out of it, but as we see, gained almost upwards of potentially 9 life and play a Golos turn early.
Yeah, I mean, in the right environment, that 1 turn ahead of schedule can be a lot of the value of your mana dork in the first place anyway.
And I have to believe that Sam, being on the draw of that game, kept that hand not just on the strength of Gilded Goose, but the fact that Oko's coming on turn 2, and that's
Absolutely.
You know, Throne of Eldraine block and
Yeah, are we back in standard for the 3 weeks that was legal to do? I also wonder, we didn't see game 1. I wonder if Sam even saw the Hex Drinker game 1, even knew that was a thing to have on his radar. Might not have known that was even in the deck.
Potentially, but that is a difficult card.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, it's a
What do you
difficult
do?
card to prepare for. You're playing all your removal. It's
Yeah.
a creature until it's a creature that can't die.
Looks like we are revising the sideboards a little bit. So learned a little more information game 2. At least Sam going back to the sideboard to see if there's anything better to bring in.
Yeah, Sam's going in deep, making sure that deck is absolutely optimized. Gavin's like, that worked. Let's roll with it. Plan to play Henstreaker, level it up, go to town.
Yeah, I mean, Gavin's whole hand might as well have just been that Kaito Freebooter and that Hex Drinker. Guy's Cradle pretty important there, too, to make that actually a fast clock. But the rest of those cards, maybe not as relevant. Unis Prowler, that was just an attacker, and a bad attacker that your opponent can shrink whenever they want.
That's true. It's true. I think
We did see
Chupacabra.
Chupacabra. We did see Chupacabra on Golos, which could have been important.
Well, I think that Sam was geared to activate Golos.
Yeah, he would have been with the Goose as well, yeah.
Yeah, so actually probably pretty critical. Gavin,
Well, even still in that spot, you got to hit Council's Judgment off that Golos activation, I think.
Yeah, because you're still in Hex Drinker range.
You're still in a real bad spot if you activate that Golos and just hit some random stuff.
But Gavin sequencing things in a way to maximize the pressure that he was able to put on with
Absolutely.
what I would call generally mediocre beats plus Hex Drinker.
Yeah, I mean, we can see here that simple cards can win complicated games of Magic, even in Vintage Cube. You just take that Oko. I guess you wouldn't call Hex Drinker a simple card, but, at the end of the day, it's just a creature.
I thought you were going to say Ravish Chupacabra. I was like, that one is simple.
Chupacabra's pretty simple. Yeah. All right, drawing hands for game 3 here.
I got to say, of all of the decks, Sam's is the one that I would want to play with the most. That's just I love
the kind of Magic you like?
I do. I love drafted lands. I love drafting lands to be able to splash cards I might not be able to
liberally.
play. Love a liberal splash. Sam has so few basic lands in his deck.
Yeah, we can only assume so few basic lands from what we've seen and from what we see of his draft pool, which again does have quite a few non-basics in it. I love getting to really benefit your help your field of the deck count with cards like Shelldock Isle. It's like, yeah, that's a different named land. Just get to get even more advantage off of these utility lands.
Shelldock Isle, and I think Sam has a 4-color deck. I think everything but black.
We didn't see any black that game, I don't believe.
Okay. I say we didn't see any white, but we do have Council's Judgment displayed prominently, so we know it's in there.
Now, Gavin, mostly a green-black deck, though we do happen to know that he's got a little bit of blue, specifically for Ancestral Recall, which I do see in this opening hand. I didn't see the rest of it. The question is, can we keep it? And it looks like yes. We're going to bottom a card and maybe have that Ancestral Recall mana.
This is a Life Will Find a Way hand.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good card to resolve. I hear we got a turn 1 Shelldock Isle from Sam. Going to find the best thing on top of his deck. Didn't see what it was, but maybe we'll find out later.
Ancestral Recall, the Great Unmulliganer.
I like to use balance as an unmulliganer. I say, actually, you mulliganed too.
Actually, you mulliganed.
You didn't realize it, but you also mulliganed.
So I have good news. As soon as Gavin moves his hand, we're going to find the card that escaped Caleb.
There's the breeding pool.
And also, notably, going to cast this Ancestral Recall probably on turn 2.
Right now, we're seeing an Ignoble Hierarch set up a little bit. Maybe don't tip your hand, and also don't want to discard a hand size.
Yeah, well, you want to maximize your mana before you get all those cards.
Mm-hmm. Land go from Sam, though that looks like a Temple Garden that came in play untapped. Razor Verge Thicket.
We see the turn 2 recall. Sam sits there and has to just watch Gavin just effortltly draw 3 cards.
In this matchup, I think Sam's strategy is to outvalue Gavin in the long game, and that's a hard card to outvalue. 2 Unmulliganers,
because the last card that Gavin drew from that was a Mind Twist.
Ooh. Is that an Unmulliganer? I mean, that's definitely...
It is an Unmulliganer.
That's definitely something.
Knight of the Reliquary from Sam, which...
No lands in the graveyard yet.
Obviously, we know that can be powerful.
It's Field of the Dead Enabler here.
Field of the Dead Enabler in the future.
We see no... I guess, does the Razor Verge Thicket have the basic land types? Is that a Plains?
Does not.
So nothing we can sacrifice right now to that Knight of the Reliquary.
Yeah, that's in the future. Now we have a forest in Sam's hand, which will come up, and Gavin giving Sam the option to make Knight of the Reliquary bigger by discarding cards to shrink the Una's Prowler.
Yeah, and Sam not taking that option.
Sam just taking 3. Just taking 3. I can appreciate it. I think that we will see Mind Twist next turn. I think that Gavin is deciding whether Mind Twist now, which will get most of the cards in Sam's hand, or all of them next turn.
How much of a signal do you take it that Sam opted not to discard any cards to that Una's Prowler? Does that make you more likely to want to cast that Mind Twist?
Makes me more likely to wait.
Okay.
Because I want to get all of them.
You want to get them all, of course.
I want to get them all.
Leave him no options.
Now, we have a Euro Titan of Nature's Wrath.
Pretty good card, I hear.
And it's going to be good with that Mind Twist. It's going to be able to immediately come back if we can dig up another green mana, which we just did.
And another pretty good card in Wrenn and 6 coming down and taking out Una's Prowler. X1's kind of rough in an environment where Wrenn and 6 is running around, though I imagine that Wrenn is about to eat the business end of a Ravenous Chupacabra.
Yeah.
Something that I think Sam is pretty happy to have. Fog you for a turn, eat your creature for 2 mana, not so bad.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good trade-off. Gavin's in a tough spot because Mind Twisting taken Sam to nothing, but
Uro is
but Sam's got blue, green, and plenty of food for those chains to break.
Do we have green? That's what I'm not clear on.
We do have green, based on the fact that Sam tapped.
There it is. There's the Sam helping us here by lining up his lands in the blue, green configuration.
Yeah. I only know because he cast that Wrenn and 6 off the mountain and another land next.
Right.
All right.
Eating that entire graveyard, it looks like, is this Uro.
Yep.
But going to draw cards, going to gain life. Now, it must be said, a green-black deck, one of the decks may be more likely to have a simple Doomblade to deal with that Uro.
That's true.
Which would be a pretty big setback at this point.
Well, I mean, we're talking about the critical turn of the game, which is kind of crazy because we've seen a recall and a Time Twister cast, or excuse me, a Mind Twist cast.
Mm-hmm.
But yet,
Gavin not snapping off anything.
Gavin,
I think if you have the Doomblade, you're probably pretty excited to cast that Doomblade. Any amount of thought has got to be making Sam feel pretty good about that Uro.
And Gavin, there needs to be an important card cast this turn. I don't know what, but it needs to be something that meaningfully impacts
Something
the
pretty
game.
relevant, I would say, yeah.
Because we're on 5 mana. There's not going to be many cards that Gavin's unable to cast. Are we cashing in the Waterlogged Grove?
No, we got 3 mana here.
Cashing in the Waterlogged Grove is not a confidence-inspiring play.
So, this card,
some may say better than Time Walk.
Courser of Krufix, pretty good card. Doesn't feel so good in the face of an Uro.
And I believe we have a Strip Mine on top, which could help prevent future Euro activations. Taking out that Shelldock Isle.
We are looking at an Uro in a 4-color mana base, so you could potentially get rid of those double green, double black, or double green, double blue sources.
Inquisition, which
find your Kodama's Reach.
Now that's
probably not sweating that too bad.
Well, no, you say that, but that coupled with the Strip Mine,
that is actually true.
You
might be able to actually take him off Uro mana,
but you have to get rid of the Euro first.
And we got Council's Judgment off the top. Card he was looking for last game has arrived in this game. It'll still be okay here.
We do have a Sylvan Library and
pretty good with Courser.
Pretty good with Courser.
But again, we're talking like those are some small edges in Fair Magic Town, and we have a 6/6 that's going to draw cards, gain life, put lands into play. That's going to outpace a lot of those little cutesy value engines.
Gavin has built his deck in mid-range land, and unfortunately, Sam Black is the mayor currently.
I do have to say, though, Sylvan Library out of Gavin last turn is one of the better things he could have. I think we saw in the last game that one of the strengths of blue, especially in singleton cube environments, you get to dig for those one-of answers. Gavin would love to find a removal spell right now, and green-black not often the greatest at doing that, but that Sylvan Library is definitely going to help.
I think depending on what Sam does, and we might not
Judgment on the library.
The library, yeah, that would be my selection.
And then I would recommend in that case that Gavin also vote for library, and he did.
Smart, yeah. So,
is that Bajuka Ball on top? What is that?
Mutavault. I could just look at these.
Yeah, you have that deck list.
My guess is Mutavault. Survey says Mutavault.
There you go. Oh, now a Murderous Rider on top. That is going to be the kind of card that Gavin is looking for.
We're going to take some bold attacks, but you do have to win the game with damage if you're Gavin Verhey. So I guess you got to start getting in while you can.
And this Uro has already done a ton of damage. I mean damage in the actual Magic sense, but also just damage in the sense that it has drawn multiple cards, gained a lot of life. And even though we see that Murderous Rider on top, it's going to get to attack yet again, gain more life, draw more cards, which is going to be pretty effective.
Now, Euro wasn't recently eroded to be a human, was it?
Not to my knowledge, but I don't keep up with the trades.
That's fair. So we do have a card draw engine where we're going to be able to draw this Murderous Rider, which is going to be absolutely critical in turning this game around.
Yeah, this was big.
I can't even believe I'm saying turn the game around after Gavin cast Recall and Twist.
And Mind Twist. Yeah.
Discarding Sam's hand. But Euro, printed in the year of our Lord, 2021, is proving to be fire design.
Do you see a fetch land out of Sam, which is we got to start working back up to 4 more cards for that Uro to escape. So fetch land, pretty good thing to see if you're on Sam Black's side of the table.
Oh, we have the Hex Drinker on top.
And we are counting our deck size now for Shelldock Isle. How long until that? I believe we saw someone in chat saying that Wrath of God is what got buried under Shelldock Isle, which of course is doing that Strip Mine right now. Sam checking to see if he can activate on the way out, and the answer is no.
Never to be seen again.
Never to be seen again. We don't get to know what that card is.
And if that was Wrath of God,
it's one of the best outs he would have had in his deck.
Ooh, especially with this Hex Drinker coming, and we know that that Council's Judgment has bitten the dust already.
Yep.
And we
Wandering
have the
Emperor.
Wandering Emperor.
Now, Justin, I believe that Sam just played a Planeswalker and activated it on his opponent's turn. How is that legal?
Unbelievable, because if you cast the Wandering Emperor, you can activate its abilities as though it had flashed that turn.
I love this card. I think this is not just a powerful white Planeswalker, but one of the most interesting and fun play patterns I've seen out of Planeswalker in a long time.
I totally agree. And it's amazing that they're... I feel for the players struggling with a digital life pad over here.
Oh, it's really rough. Oh dear. Coverage, someone save them.
As we have
Kitchen Fix, it looks like coming out.
Very short lines of text on the Wandering Emperor's abilities, but because it has that flash, it opens up the ability for this card to be played in such a variety of manners, offensively, defensively. It's probably one of the better cube cards that's been printed in the last couple of years.
So good. Now, I think the big question out of Sam this turn is, are we going to find another card to put in the graveyard there to escape this Uro? We do have double blue. We have that island.
Now.
So even though the Shelldock is gone, we do have double blue.
And we have
4 other cards in addition to Uro. We need 5, I believe, to escape Uro.
We're one card short.
1 card shy. Looking to draw, I don't know, a port would be pretty good.
Well, there's a way to do it. If there's a way to do it if you're brave enough.
Oh, just downtick that Emperor.
Wandering Emperor.
How much stock are you going to put in your Uro? Are you going to sacrifice your Wandering Emperor? Must be said, right now it's going to be dead anyway.
I believe it would be my choice.
Yeah, I think it's what you got to do in this spot, and I think we're seeing it right now. Oh, yep, downtick, get that token, escape Uro.
Hero comes back, hit those chains. If I'm on Magic the Gathering Arena, I know that sound all too well.
And we're drawing another card. We're gaining more life. Uro doing Uro things.
Good news, Gavin has Sam down to 20.
Back down to 20.
But and you know what? We're making some jokes about Corsair. It has drawn 3 cards for free.
Yeah, that's almost as many cards as Uro has drawn.
Almost.
I think Uro has drawn 6 at this point. Maybe only 5. It only got to attack once.
We have Hex Drinker, and Hex Drinker, Gavin is probably going to be banking on utilizing it to win the game as we are turbo leveling it up.
Not a ton of green mana, it looks like, actually. I'm seeing a lot of swamps. Oh, nope, I'm wrong, apparently.
No, you're right. However...
Is it colorless to level that up? Oh, boy.
Modern Horizons.
Oh, geez. Oh, my goodness.
You must be thinking of a card printed in Standard. Where you have to actually utilize your mana in a creative way.
Is that a burning we see?
This is going to be an excellent time to
Not
cast
a bad time to
cast
a burning. I mean, we're still looking at... I guess our Hex Drinker's not Regeneratus level yet. It's a 4/4 protection from instance. This is the exact turn you want that. And it looks like, yeah, that's a burning. This is very key turn. Oh, and Gavin just says, I'm done. I'm not having any more of this.
And I can respect that.
I know that my top deck is a Noble Hierarch. You're going to hit me a couple times with this Uro. That's game.
And we see the power of Euro Titan of Nature's Wrath in the face of Ancestral Recall, Mind Twist, and Corsair Crufix.
And Corsair Crufix. The trifecta of powerful Sultai cards we all know so well.
Yeah, and that, like I said earlier, Gavin trying to build his deck in mid-range town. Sam was the king.
Uro is kind of a silly Magic card, Justin.
It is a very silly Magic card.
Kind of a silly card.
It's one of those cards that you just feel so good when you're wielding it, and it feels so oppressive when you're not.
That may also be one of the best Wildfire Burning of Xingye's I've seen cast in years. I feel like a lot of people are kind of low on those cards now in the Vintage Cube, and yet that was a situation where it was absolutely perfect.
They are low on him, much like the amount of permanents that Gavin had left.
That's true,
which
yes.
was 2.
Losing those lands, losing all your creatures, you're going to draw a Noble Hierarch. Enjoy this 6/6.
That's gross. And so, reminder, this was our backup match.
Yeah, we already saw one match resolved in this round, and I got to say, Team Wisconsin putting up some numbers as far as we know. Now, we're not going to be divulging the results of the other rounds just yet, but we do know at least the 2 matches on stream, Sam Black and Caleb Durward taking down the wins.
That's true, which means
home field advantage proving to be pretty important.
It does. No question. I can't deny what we saw. It was right there in front of me. But that means, as we know, that we're going to get a sweep from Team Wizards next round, that we're going to absolutely go to a 3rd round.
It's funny. I find that happens actually a lot in Team Draft, where round 1, it feels like one team is like totally dominant. And then all you do is you switch up those matchups. You play a different person on the opponent's team, and everything kind of switches the other way.
And then we're tied 3-3 going into the last round.
Yeah, exactly. Magic is, there's definitely some rock, paper, scissors elements to a lot of metagames in most cubes, where you might have a good matchup here, bad matchup there. Decks are not just universally good or bad. So round 1, not necessarily indicative of what round 2 is going to hold for us.
Absolutely. We don't know what the other 2 are playing. But how do we feel like these 2 match up cross-sectioned with the other person in the opposite team?
So basically, how will Gavin's match against Caleb go, and how will Sam's match against Gwen go is what we're asking?
That's what I'm asking.
I think Gavin is really going to struggle against Caleb's deck.
I think he's going to be a dog of all dogs.
That seems like a really rough matchup to me. Maybe the
abysmal
worst matchup we have in this entire draft.
I believe so.
Dare say. I mean, you do have powerful cards. You have your Mind Twist. I mean, you're going to have draws, but you get to cast your powerful cards and do powerful card things. But overall, you're trying to do mid-rangey stuff, and your opponent is going so big. So big. I mean, any one of those, any channel, any extra turns, any big planeswalkers. I mean, I feel like Gavin's deck is going to struggle just to beat Nizzy Who Shakes the World cast in a perfectly fair time frame.
I think it's going to be tough just to even see Gavin being able to beat any amount of planeswalkers.
Planeswalkers are rough for a mid-range deck. I mean, we saw the entire mid-range archetype really transform when Planeswalkers became dominant in the game, and I think we're seeing why here. It's kind of hard to fight Planeswalkers in those kinds of matchups.
I hate being right in the way that I was like, oh, what is Caleb's deck going to absolutely destroy? The black deck.
Yeah.
And we could be very well seeing that later.
Removal, not so good against Caleb's deck, I dare say. And then the other matchup we have here would be Sam versus Gwen. That's an interesting one, I think. Sam does have, I think, more answers than most people in this pod. I wouldn't venture to call it a 4-color control deck, would you?
No, I think it's firmly mid-range, but lots of interaction.
Yeah, it has more interaction certainly than many of the decks we've seen. And again, Gwen's deck, we do see a ton of artifact mana. We see a lot of cards that are effectively air. So if you can answer those few important cards, answer that Bolas the Citadel, answer that Goblin Welder, answer some of those really important cards, the deck might kind of crumble and fall apart, kind of like we saw in round one.
And I think that, I mean, exactly like you said, exactly like we saw in round one, I think that it's going to be dependent on Gwen sticking those meaningful permanents for anything longer than a turn or so.
Yeah.
Because we didn't even get that Bolas the Citadel against Caleb for
No, I mean, we
drew
2 cards. We drew a Mox, and that was basically it, with the
Faithless Looting and Mox.
Yep, Faithless Looting and Mox. And, you know, I don't know. It's kind of a rough Citadel you drew there.
So
I mean, just to recap real quick.
Those two
just a
matchups
recap for Team Wisconsin. We see at least a 2-0 in round one from Team Wisconsin, and we just discussed the following matchups and decided they were pretty heavily in the Cheeseheads' favor. Things are looking pretty good for Team Wisconsin, is all I got to say. Unless, you know, J-Bro is really fumbling the bag, and it's possible. We haven't seen J-Bro on stream yet. Maybe J-Bro is really stumbling over there.
The last match of Cube I watched him play was a loss.
He did lose.
Now that was,
which is why he doesn't have the Cube King of Wisconsin crown on his head right now.
Cube King of Wisconsin.
Heavy is the head that bears the crown on Caleb, though. He's got a lot on his shoulders.
That's true, but Caleb having a pretty clear victory in round one. But we're on to round two.
Yeah.
We're on to round two already.
The beauty of team draft. You don't have to wait for other people to finish. I mean, you do, but they already did. Fewer people to finish their rounds before you can start shuffling up and playing more Magic.
So Caleb up one. Sam up one.
Yep. Just to recap, we know that, you know, Sam is up around, Caleb's up around, so we know that Team Wisconsin at least went 2-1 in the first set of rounds, maybe 3-0. It's possible.
Potentially. But right now, we're going to take you to David McDarby versus Sam Black. David McDarby trying to regain some of the pride that Team Wizards may have lost in the last round. And they're off to the races. They've played at least 2 turns in under 10 seconds of the game. So we have McDarby, and we have to name Darby's deck. I have to name McDarby's deck.
You do have to name David McDarby's deck. Okay.
So I'm gonna let you observe think about that. The action.
We're really just looking at some land pass stuff right now on both sides of the battlefield.
No spells being cast yet.
And just a casual Teferi on turn 3. So if you're going to just keep playing lands and pass, show me an answer. And we see in response a flashed in Brazen Borrower. Brazen Borrower, a pretty good Planeswalker assassin, but of course we get to downtick with Teferi, recoup that card already, and just offset that tempo.
A rare win for any card from a set that's not Throne of Eldraine over Throne of Eldraine.
So true. Now, we do see that David McDarby is playing blue. Teferi, a notoriously swingy card. Some decks really have a difficult time against the resolved Teferi.
Yeah, most decks that like to play Magic, I've noticed.
Oh, I mean, other times I think it can be kind of a glorified Repulse. And I'm a man that loves Repulse.
I love a Repulse, too.
So I think it's the best Repulse ever printed, I would venture to say. Here we see a Gonti coming down on David McDarby's side of the battlefield. So taking a look, shopping through the top 4 cards of Sam Black's deck, which one of these would I like to cast later? I see at least a Burning there. So we got a Wildfire variant, and I don't see what the card he took was. It was not the Burning, which makes sense given that currently his permanent dies to Burning and Sam's does not.
I think that's fair. So we're going to name Dave McDarby's deck #SneakyTwin.
I think you're better at this naming thing than I am. I got to really up my game in round 3.
#SneakyTwin, because
Oh, boy.
we look like we are doing a little mid-range dance. Like, I play a Gonti, I'm going to play a Brazen Bar, or I'm going to twin you out of nowhere in your deck.
Yeah. That's the best way to twin somebody, I would say. The best way to twin them is out of nowhere.
Yes. You have that second reprieve when they go to your instep and they tap your land down with the Seaver Exarch before you die.
Yep. Ooh, a big bribery here. I'm not sure what Sam Deck's main deck configuration is, but we do have some big bangers in his pool. I would not expect him to be playing Elesh Norn in his main deck, though, for example. I expect that's probably in the sideboard.
I think Golos is at the top of the list.
Golos is for sure in there.
Euro's at the bottom of the list.
Yeah, you don't want Uro because that's going to go right to Sam Black's graveyard and just give him that resource. This is a pretty tough spot for David. I think this needs to be a pretty good bribery, given that he's staring down 2 very good Planeswalkers without any substantial board presence.
Sam's decks is Muldrifters of various sizes, so I think that we're going to see. I would guess that we're going to see Golos as the thing that's going to be able to pressure Teferi the most, but also provide McDarby with a little bit more advantage. The scary part of bribery is you're playing it in to a Teferi that's not dead.
Yeah. So put that card right back in my hand. Thank you very much.
Worst case scenario, you're going to give, and we
do have Elesh Norn in the main deck.
We stand corrected.
Yeah, so that seems like a pretty good answer. Now, Sam has a turn now where he needs to tick up Teferi again in order to tick down to get that, bounce that Elspeth, or Elesh Norn rather, back to his own hand. So I'm not sure how much of a priority that would actually be right now.
That's really dependent on the toughness of the average card in Sam's hand.
It depends a lot what it's in Sam's hand. And we're seeing more Planeswalkers, and in fact, I'm just going to go ahead and tuck that under my top couple cards in my library.
Any Teferi will do.
Teferi just does stuff, it turns out. Reading to make sure. I always find this wording a little confusing, too. When it says second from the top, it's like, is it under 2? Is it the second card? It's hard to say. So I would say this has gotten much bleaker for David in that exchange. I cast Bribery, maybe one of the better cards in my deck. I got one of your big bombs, and you immediately answer with yet another Planeswalker. I still have no way to pressure any of them.
Now, the good part is we have a Johnny Vengeance that held down that island, which is preventing the Grave Titan from coming down for McDarby, and that is going to be bad news.
Does Sam know? Sam does not know about the Grave Titan in his hand, right? He's just tapping down a land because it's the right thing to do.
That's exactly right. We got a judge call, presumably about a Johnny Vengeance potentially tapping stuff, or
Judge,
maybe
excuse
not.
me, this feels unfair. Is this right? This doesn't feel right.
Are we sure this is a white-red card that has interesting text?
Ooh, maybe a judge call pertaining to exactly how Zealous Conscripts is going to work with a Johnny Vengeance abilities, which David, if he chooses to steal a Johnny Vengeance, will get to activate.
I like that. That's going to take out 2 Planeswalkers, 3 Planeswalkers, because we're going. So here's what happened.
There's a lot that happened there in a very quick moment.
We stole a Johnny Vengeance.
We took it.
And McDarby knows better. He's played on camera 1,000 times. So I'm gonna have to talk with him after this. So
maybe he doesn't care about us. Consider that.
Here's what happened. So we played a Zealous Conscripts. We stole a Johnny Vengeance. We activated a Johnny Vengeance, dealing 3 damage to one of the Tefris. Take your pick.
Yeah, choose which one you want.
Zealous Conscripts come smashing in for the other 3 damage. Take the other one out. That's a nice play.
That may be the best Zealous Conscripts of 2022, but we see just more answers out of Sam Black and Elspeth Conquers Death here coming down to answer that Zealous Conscripts. I think, looking at cards in hand, I think that David does have a bit of an advantage.
Yes.
And we are certainly down 3 good Planeswalkers that are a big part of Sam Black's core deck. So, an interesting spot to find ourselves in.
Now we have one on the docket coming back when that Elspeth Conquers Death ticks up.
That is
to
true.
Saga Stage 3, but a lot of time in between now and then, and a lot of spells to be cast for McDarby.
And it must be said, we are getting to the point of the game where that card under Shelldock Isle is going to be very real, I think, the way this game has been playing out. Man, what is Zealous Conscripts? That was that's one of those situations where maybe you call a judge just to be like, this does work, right? Like I'm 99% sure, but I just want to make sure because
I know what I wanted to call the judge. While we have hundreds watching on Twitch, you just want one more observer to see it.
you just, hey, come look at this.
Hey, check
you,
this out.
Come
hey,
check
this
this out. Pretty gross, right? Speaking of pretty gross, we see a Grave Titan coming down.
And we're not just talking about the art.
The art is gross, but also beautiful. And I imagine we're waiting for some zombie tokens from the judging team here so we can get the correct tokens on the battlefield. And that's a pretty fast clock, I dare say.
Now, we are at 23 because there was a Johnny activation.
On both sides of the battlefield.
Yeah, both sides of the battlefield.
Which is fitting because we recently found out that Johnny is a sleeper agent. So we saw it play out in this game. And Johnny playing both sides of the battlefield.
Spoiler alert.
Ooh, and the Council's judgment to answer the Grave Titan. Sam Black's deck has played out very controlling in this matchup. Whether we're going to call him a control deck overall, every single thing David has done has been met with a response by Sam.
Well, that is the ultimate, the true mid-range deck. You're able to take on either option.
That's
taking
true.
the controlling route.
You become the control deck against the aggressive opponent. You become the aggressor against the more slow component.
And finally, knocking Sam down to below 20 for the first time in the game for either player.
Got to be a little bit disheartening.
And this would be a great time for David to assemble Splinter Twin Voltron.
We got Dak Faden here to start digging for it because nothing else really to do with those abilities right now. So we're just going to start digging.
And get to see a little bit more about McDarby's deck with this discard, and notably what he has deemed as not going to be helpful for this game.
Yeah, we're going to learn a bit about what he doesn't think he needs. We are seeing two mana sources, land and a Signet, which makes sense.
The land is Creeping Tar Pit, which is one of my favorite
that is interesting.
lands.
I mean, that does tell you a little more, perhaps.
And it does, because we have a Planeswalker coming back right now.
Pretty good answer to a Planeswalker.
Saying, I don't need this Creeping Tar Pit. I'm going to got those Planeswalkers locked down. And we see the one with the highest mana value, unsurprisingly, and it's going to come into play with an extra counter, which is going to be 5 for Teferi.
David saying, wait, really?
We printed like this?
This is how cards work now? I think interesting game shaking up here. Big swings back and forth, and now we're going to get to maybe a kind of grindy mid-game where we're going to see players just trying to exchange resources and get the upper hand.
This is a very scary scenario for McDarby if he does not have some interaction on this turn, because and I was Sam played it before. I was like, we know
this is why you're the pro, because I had forgotten about that Elish Norn, but you of course did not.
Scary scenario, because that Elish Norn coming down, cleaning up all of those zombies, and now we are a very short amount of turns away from Teferi, but something I did forget about from the third turn of the game, Brazen Borrower.
Yep, we get that petty theft. Now, I got to mention this other thing about Elish Norn. Pretty good at shutting down any variation of the Splinter Twin combo, except for exactly Deceiver Exarch and the card Splinter Twin, which are those the two that he has in his deck?
They are.
He has exactly the two that you need to get around Elish Norn's ability.
No,
actually, that wouldn't work because your Deceiver Exarch is going to have no power.
Well, you can make them all.
What are you going to do with them?
They ain't doing much. You got to figure out a way. Life has to find a way.
Yep.
McDarby has 23 life to work with. Says life less important than mana. I'll take my 2 and take a peek at your hand with the Gataxian Probe.
How many times you paid a blue mana for a Gataxian Probe in your day, Justin?
I'll give you 1%, and it's probably under 10.
Yeah, I think it's well under 10. Looks like 3 cards in hand for David McDarby, and we have 4 in hand over there for Sam.
For 1 second, I thought that Knight of the Reliquary was a Dragonlord Dramoka, and I was going to be like, woof, but that's not the case.
Nope, it's Knight of the Reliquary, looking a little bit less threatening in this spot, though it's going to be bigger because of that Elish Norn.
It sure is.
We are still in find an answer to Elish Norn territory, I dare say.
Yeah, the minigame is afoot.
Now, do you go after Dak if you are Sam Black, or do you just let him have it and go after his life total?
Oh, absolutely go after Dak.
Yeah.
That's the dig to the answer.
Speaking of the answer,
we have
a hard cast. Archon of Cruelty.
Hard cast.
Ring the bell. Achievement unlocked. Hard cast Reanimator target in Archon of Cruelty. This card is a real beating. Another Modern Horizons beating.
And oddly, Archon lets you choose the creature you want to sacrifice, and Sam chose to sacrifice Elish Norn.
No, I wouldn't have done that personally.
I wouldn't have done that either.
I would have cracked my fetch land and gone and got my my Dryad Arbor is what I would have done.
So that is a hell of an answer.
Big back and forth here. This is quite a game we have developing.
I believe we call this classic cube in the most appropriate sense, and we of course have we have a Wrenn and 6.
It's a Wrenn and 6 under the Shelldock Isle. Not the most impactful part of the game to play Wrenn and 6, but I gotta say one of my favorite parts of Shelldock Isle is overriding those timing restrictions and getting to flash in your Wrenn and 6 on your opponent's end step.
So one of my favorite things to do in Cube that has Splinter Twin, you always try to draft Splinter Twin. Sometimes it doesn't work out. But sometimes you find some sweet creatures to put Splinter Twin on anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Mr. McDarby has one of those in play.
Yeah, I mean, I would Splinter Twin an Archon of Cruelty if I had a chance, but you're not going to have a chance here, it looks like. Now, this is a pretty good answer. I mean, in this situation, you don't really want to bounce Archon because David's got the mana to cast it, but tucking it under a card gives you a much bigger window to find some better answer.
And Sam with Teferi here is gonna have a handful of draws and plenty of mana to work with to make sure that's the case.
Yep.
And to answer your question, I believe Sam also interested in taking down that deck, and as he does so with Wrenn, ping it one at a time.
Yep. I mean, no lands to get back, I believe, and probably not a whole lot of value in doing so at this point.
We have gone so long. We know that Splinter Twin is afoot.
So obviously we don't get a turn because we do have that DAC activation to just dig deeper and find that Archon.
It's true.
Question of whether or not Sam has green mana in play, I don't know. It doesn't maybe look like it, which would keep him off of the Knight of the Reliquary. And is there other card we're seeing in his hand?
It looks a lot like an Oko.
That's a Fractured Identity is what that is.
Boy.
And this is, I mean, talk about a back and forth game.
I didn't even know that card was in his deck.
That card is in his deck a lot. I mean, we've got some very powerful cards in Sam Black's deck. Just going to go ahead and use that card as an example token. We'll see if the judges complain about that.
It's going to take out this deck. That is bad news. Now is the time. Now is the time.
We've had a lot of now is the times in this game. It's been
now's the time for Twin.
It's been card that must be answered against card that must be answered repeatedly.
McDarby gripping 2.
Not
that is a
great number of cards.
That is a small amount against an Archon of Cruelty.
But with Twin, you only need those 2 cards to win, so it could be the right 2.
It needs to.
That's all it takes.
It needs to be the right 2. J-Bro coming to who knows?
Well, who knows? I mean,
we don't know.
He could be. Maybe he's sad. We can't tell. This could be a sad man back here.
You guys can't see him, but he is doing a dance. Maybe could be rooting for McDarby, could be rooting for Sam Black. We will never know. We don't know what team J-Bro's currently pulling for as the former Cube champion of Wisconsin. No longer, that now belongs to Caleb.
Now, Justin, is it a pretty good turn to Fractured Identity your opponent's Archon of Cruelty and then play Oko?
It's a pretty good turn to do one of those things.
What if you did both?
I think if you did both, you are putting your opponent on a 1-turn emotional clock.
All right, we see at least a Grief in David's hand. Not a card you want to see at this stage of the game.
And the last turn, Sam Black cast Grief. Again, not the card, the emotional.
Yes,
the emotional affliction on David McDarby.
Yes, Sam Black cast the emotion Grief. Just sent it like daggers across the table at David.
So I have not lost a game yet.
Oh, spoilers!
Spoilers!
Spoilers! Get out of the booth! Get out of the booth!
I thought that's what you guys wanted me to
Security!
We're covering you next round. You're the finale, okay?
Oh wait.
We don't know. We don't know if Jonathan Brostoff has lost a game or not.
Mm-hmm.
We've heard from a potentially
some sort of Jonathan Brostoff lookalike just came into the booth, shouting and hollering.
Potentially,
we know
from an unreliable source.
We know him to be a very straight-laced public servant. I don't think J-Bro is going to be running around pumping his fist, screaming, "This surely must be imposter."
That's true. We've never seen such exuberance.
Now, David casting this Grief, I got to say, pretty despondently. That's the way you're going to cast a Grief in this situation.
This is we're going to game 2. Let me just take a look at what's in your hand before I concede.
This was game 1, so this is shaping up to be quite a match. How many haymakers did we see answered over and over again in this game on both sides of the battlefield?
Yes.
I guess I'll attack with my Archon of Cruelty.
I've never felt, oh my gosh,
We're flashing in the Brazen Borrower, absorb some of that damage, sacrifice it. Oh, sacrificing it to keep the Grief, I guess. I wonder what that's all about.
Grief has Menace.
Oh, but Brazen Borrower can't block, so that's why.
Can block Arcane of Cruelty.
Oh, can it block creatures with flying? That's
Only-
right, it can. Oh, you're
only
right.
block
There we go. You
creatures
can see
with
there.
All right, I believe we need that Sneaky Twin to show up now.
Yeah, we are
It's
just
time.
We are just tapping the top of the deck like twin, please.
It is time.
Can't see that card in the glare, but really any card that Sam Black is putting onto the battlefield at this point is going to be really bad news. And we see the Grief hitting the bin, so whatever it was. Oh, it's just a burning, casual burning. Casual burning, keep all my planeswalkers, keep my Archon.
So McDarby still in position. This didn't actually change anything for him, surprisingly enough.
Not really, no.
And Oko going up to 48 counters, as it usually does. We are on.
If the Splinter Twin deck has to do its thing, Oko will not have a chance to elk anything.
We're on Twin or Bust.
Should have called the deck Twin or Bust.
We might have to rename it after this round. I can only hope that McDarby is trying to get Sam to look away and then flip the table. I think that might be the best chance we have here.
The player's getting really good looks at their opponent's deck, so sideboard's going to be relevant, maybe.
That was the Gonti that he was giving back. Oh, that he Gontied on so early in the game and then never cast the card.
Yeah.
I guess that is a
That
response.
card should say an exile, though. So.
Oh, he's casting it.
Oh, he's casting.
He's casting.
It's a Kodama's Reach. He's casting
He's
it.
casting
Oh,
the
boy.
Kodama's Reach.
I mean, I guess that thins your deck. To find that twin, you got to take every edge you can get.
I mean, you're at 15. You can take another hit. Can't take another hit.
Yeah.
And you also can't.
You're going to be discarding cards.
You
You're going to be
can't-
losing life. Yeah, it's going to be a whole thing.
You can't cast Deceiver Exarch anytime other than the end step because of the very angry planeswalkers that would take care of it.
And definitely taken off of cast both in the same turn mana with that burning.
You know what? McDarby's in it to win it. There's no concessions.
No, I mean, you got to play it out.
We got a Swamp that's going to be discarded to the Archon.
Got to keep cards in hand to feed the Archon.
Yep. And we have a food.
And an Elk. An Elk and an Archon coming in.
Which doesn't change the clock for McDarby's purposes. The correct play for
well,
Sam,
it does
of
allow
course.
him to draw. I guess a Johnny Vengeance already gone in this game, right? It would allow him to draw a Johnny, and then is that all one game?
That was all game one.
We're still looking at the game where we had Zealous Conscripts steal that, kill your 3 planeswalkers, and finally, after many back and forth turns, Sam Black takes game 1.
It's Cube, baby. That's what happens.
That was peak Cube, I dare say.
That was peak Cube.
This is the stuff you come to CubeCon for, to both witness and participate in degeneracy like that.
And this is day 1. We have 3 more days of this.
It's only getting better.
And this is what I would dare say is the most straight-laced Cube.
Oh, you think it's most like, predictable.
Just most predictable.
Yeah, people are familiar with this kind of
you
vintage
know what you're
Cube.
getting.
You've seen it on Magic Online. You know kind of what happens and what it looks like.
We have a ton of cubes that can really show the depth of this format, which is really only impeded by what you can dream of.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what kind of sideboard action we see here. I mean, so many things happen in that game that there's any number of cards that would have been good in any number of situations, and lots of cards that be dead in some of those situations. It's going to be a really interesting game too, I dare say.
Man, that was just, honestly, Sam, really just mastery from Sam, obviously from a play perspective, but also just deck construction. It didn't seem like there was much he couldn't answer.
No, absolutely not. And the point of well piloted, I think, is a really good one. So many choices to make in each of those turns, and I think if I'm in Sam Black's seat, I'm going to make a couple punts there that might cost me the game. Every one of those edges was important.
It was critical.
Yeah, it wasn't like he was under constant pressure from David, needed to answer things almost every turn of the game, and found those answers when he needed them.
I think that the line between a win and at the end of that game, it looked like Sam was just dominant. But the line between him winning and potentially losing, I think, was actually very thin.
It was very thin. I will say that the big haymakers back and forth on Sam's side of the battlefield were Cards doing what they say. Pretty straightforward. I cast my card, it's an answer. The big swings back and forth on David's side of the battlefield were extraordinary, highest ceiling of a card, right? Like, that's the best you can ever expect Zealous Conscripts to be, and it still wasn't good enough in this case.
Chat. Oh, it's my good friend Danny West pointing out that McDarby has a rainbow watch on, and you have named Sam the Rainbow Demolisher.
Yep. So
in more ways than one.
Yep. That's a thing. Maybe they got to play for the watch. You gotta put the watch on the ante table.
Oh man, that was just. I think one of the most exciting things to see in Cube specifically, especially Paper Cube, like it just is so much more satisfying in Paper Cube than it is in Digital Cube, is to see a Splinter Twin out of nowhere.
So I mean, that's something we should talk about. Sam did not see any piece of Splinter Twin in that entire game, right? We probably had 15 cards left in our libraries. We went to turn who knows what. Still didn't see any piece of Splinter Twin. So the Sneaky Twin still very much online.
Very, very much online. And we don't know how McDarby's first round went. We don't know who saw what.
That's true. I mean, the teams can communicate, so it's possible that Sam knows from whatever teammate played David in round one coming in what to expect. I think David's going to need a really good hand here and a fast twin in order to make this work. Is my feeling after how that game played out.
I think that's probably true. I
guess we did see conscripts. That conscript's not always a twin piece, but kind of is a twin piece.
In a traditional game of Magic, where both of these players are trying to attack their opponents through combat until they're at 0, the longer the game goes, the more an advantage that Sam's going to have.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we saw nothing but 2-for-1s and Planeswalkers in Sam's deck, so David's got to really work harder, I think, to get that kind of mileage out of his cards.
Definitely.
Be a little more creative, and we saw it in game one.
A little more creative than the 3-for-1 Zealous Conscripts. That's
I mean, he needed that plus a little bit of luck to have Sam not draw so well and not have further answers, but
you would think a game where Zealous Conscripts takes out a fleet of Planeswalkers, you cast Grave Titan, and then you hard cast Archon of Cruelty twice, that you should win easily.
Yeah, if you put those things on a list and say, I did this in this game, what was the outcome? I'd be like, well, surely you won handily. And yet, we find ourselves going to game 2 with Sam up one game. For those that just tuned in, we are doing a team draft of a Vintage Cube, very similar to the Magic Online Vintage Cube from this year. A couple changes here and there, but if you've seen that cube be played, these games are going to play out very similarly. We are in round 2 and watching Sam Black on Team Wisconsin, who's up one game against David McDarby on Team WoTC.
And we see the aforementioned Grave Titan in hand for McDarby, which I have to imagine is going to be part of the plan. But we know Elix Norn lurking in Sam's deck, which swept up Grave Titan after Council's Judgment took it out last time. So many answers.
The goose is loose. Field of Goose coming down. Going to give Sam at least one turn ahead of schedule in terms of mana and the Field of the Dead. So
we have yet to see a zombie, but I have a feeling that we will start to see zombies being created this game. We have a field early.
Save for a fast twin, I don't see how this game does not go to the point where Sam is getting some triggers off the Field of the Dead.
Yeah. But, different than Gavin's deck, which was a lot of interaction and trying to really incremental advantage out, where it was going to be difficult for Sam to necessarily try to take the long game. The Hex Drinker game is what it was.
Yeah,
And we
see Teferi again into an empty board on David's side. This is not what you want to see.
Or you really don't ever want to see it. You could have one permanent, you could have no permanents. You need like multiple permanents, and then for not to have any blockers to be like, you know what, that's okay.
Nothing like a 3-mana Planeswalker that takes up to 5 loyalty, huh? How does that make you feel?
Yeah.
Oh, just simply have 5 power in play that you can attack with. And here we see Gonti coming out off the back of a Manamorphose. Otherwise, wouldn't have had double black for that.
Gonti, which David normally would not be able to cast.
Manamorphose is a card I just added into my own cube that I'm actually pretty excited about. How do you feel about playing with that card?
I have that in my cube as well.
Some people find it very boring. They're like, oh, I just draw cards. I just fix my mana. But there's nothing I want to do more than draw more cards and make sure I cast my spells.
It's just so smooth. It's so smooth. It's very rarely bad. Like the worst part is sometimes you have to like pick it over something that you might want, but it's not going to disappoint you. We have a Johnny Vengeant returning yet again, foiled as ever,
So shiny,
gleaming
in the sun,
taking out that Gonti, which David has a card to his left that I have a feeling we're going to see much closer towards the beginning of the game than we saw that Kadama's Reach cast in turn 45 last game.
Did you see what that card was? I missed it.
I did not see it.
Yeah.
But I do know that there's a Corpse Stance sneaking about in McDarby's hand.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of explosive thing that I think David needs to do to come out ahead in this game.
We already have 2 Planeswalkers down.
Yeah.
Both very, very problematic.
Extremely. I mean, both those Planeswalkers have the ability to answer in-play permanents. So you're going to have to stick enough permanents to continue to pressure them. I don't think this is a game where you're going to be winning by attacking Sam's Planeswalkers. You need some other way to get it around this value.
And, God, Teferi's going to make it so difficult to activate Splinter Twin. And we do see just a standard Corpse Stance. We're going to get 1 use out of that Gonti. It's going to get buyback. Going to get buyback, but now the gig is up. You know that Corpse Stance is there, so that's something you can watch out for.
Yep.
And more importantly, potentially,
this feels a little desperate to me. I think
it does feel desperate.
It feels a little desperate already.
We have Grave Titan in hand, and we have 1 black mana, and I have a pretty good feeling Sam is going to single out that swamp and make sure it doesn't untap with Johnny.
That's what I would certainly do if I were Sam, given that he's got access to double blue and double red already, and you did see Grave Titan last game, and that's one of the only things that potentially can dig David out of this board state. But even then, you see Grave Titan comes down, you bounce it. Sure, you take a couple hits from some zombies. Really in the tank here about this Gonti card that David's going to take off of Sam's deck. As a reminder, we're in round 2 here. We're going to be going to round 3 soon and watching J-Bro versus Gavin Verhey, so you don't want to miss that.
We may have, depending on how long this goes, we may have a follow-up for round 2, but we'll see. We'll see.
I think this is going to go long. I think this is the longest match we're going to see in round 2, personally.
I think that it could be. I think that there's a chance that this game doesn't last all that much longer in earnest.
Yeah, and here we see a chump block on the Goose to save a Johnny from that hasty Gonti.
Well, Nick Darby is playing a deck that is not going to scoop in bad situations in most cases because you can win out of nowhere. But you got to you have to deal with that Teferi first.
Ooh, I definitely just saw a Fractured Identity tucked under that Shell Dock Isle. So we're going to need to get to the stage. We're going to need to kill Sam Black before that Shell Dock Isle is online.
Well,
which is not going to be an easy task.
Back at 23 with 2 Planeswalkers locking. Has not activated a Johnny, but probably going to be locking down that swamp. Playing another blocker.
Knight of the Reliquary
doesn't even matter that
I got to say, Knight of the Reliquary has not done much in the games we've watched of Sam's deck, but, another chump blocker for save those Planeswalkers if you have to.
I think Knight is likely there to activate and find Field of the Dead in most scenarios.
Yeah.
I think that's the goal.
That's pretty much why the card's in the deck, I would venture. And we already have Field of the Dead in play. It will give you additional Field of the Dead triggers once you are online for Field of the Dead, though you got to keep finding variations of plains and forests in order to keep that chain going.
Probably just going to find it and then start, attacking as it needs.
Yeah, that's a way to play Magic. Attack.
Yeah, sometimes.
We do see Sam tapping down that swamp, depriving David McDarby of even a faint glimmer of hope of casting that Grave Titan.
Which is, gosh, and we already used, and we know that swamps are going to be hard to come by because we Manamorphose to get 2 of them.
Yeah.
Ooh,
all right, okay. We had a Council's
number.
Judgment off Gonti.
Yeah. There's only one option here. It's the card you cannot possibly beat with Splinter Twin, and that's Teferi Time Raveler. Unless you slow twin. Two main phase twins, 2 turns apart. Which I got to say, you don't see very often.
A game like this, get to 1 turn where you got enough mana. It's possible, but you're not really the main game plan of the deck.
Doesn't have haste though.
Oh, that's true. No, you're right.
Yeah, it's tough. You really need to do a little 1-2 punch in a turn.
Nothing like a broadcast slow twin.
Yeah, that's not what we want to see. That's not why we're here. I want to see the RKO out of nowhere twin.
First zombie from Field of the Dead in this match, and that's a very scary clock. It's not a fast clock, but it's a very scary clock. We're going to see zombies most turns, I think, at this point of the game out of Sam Black. And that's going to build up real quick.
On the thumb of Dave McDarby, we do see a Deceiver Exarch. That's half of the way there.
That's the first piece.
That is the first piece.
We do have mana, of course, for both Deceiver Exarch and Splinter Twin. Mana not going to be the bottleneck here.
And we have moved into the I'm not going to win this game in a traditional manner stage of the game for McDarby.
Now, something that Sam can do here is get a fetch land with the Knight of the Reliquary to possibly get 2 zombies. We don't see that. We see him getting a mountain. Not sure if there's any fetch lands left to get or if there's other reasons not to do that.
There could just be one. Who knows? Not going to be many.
Oh, that was, I'm sorry, that was the first fetch land activation. We are seeing Sam do the thing I mentioned, which is get a fetch land off of Knight of the Reliquary, turning this Field of the Dead into actually a very fast clock.
Yeah,
Indeed.
Why cast Grave Titan when you can just play lands?
I mean, I love to win by playing my lands.
And we see
also thinning that deck for that Shelldock Isle, which I would venture to say is very nearly online, just what we're looking at on the battlefield.
It's probably quite close.
A card or 2 off, maybe?
Let's see. Quick math
1,
says
2, 6, 7, 8, 9,
3
10,
cards
12,
off.
13, 14, 15, 16.
17?
I think we're 1 card off, unless I miscounted.
Okay.
Because we have the card tucked under Shelldock Isle too, which remember is a Fractured Identity. I am 90% sure.
Yeah.
Grove of the Burn Willows. Oh, is that another land with a different name?
Sure is.
Huh. Fancy that. I think I get a zombie now.
I really want to see in-step Deceiver Exarch.
I want to see it too. I want to see David take. I'm on Team Wisconsin here. I've been adopted by these Wisconsinites, but I want to see a game 3, and I want to see some twin action, you know?
Yeah, I want to see some twin action. And this is the time. Now is the time because...
yeah, you're done. I mean, you're actually on a 2-turn clock.
You have one more turn.
It literally has to be right now.
Now or never.
Or maybe you, ripped a Wrath of God with your Gonti earlier on, and you've been playing into it.
Counting decks for everyone.
I think Sam definitely on fewer cards in his deck, so it's going to be Sam's deck that's going to get below 20 first.
David is just ready for this end of turn step.
Oh,
here we go, baby.
We go. Okay, we're seeing it. Now,
tap that Shelldock Isle.
The question is it live right now?
I don't know. I don't think it's live. Well, you said he was one off.
I think we're one off, unless I've miscounted a card from Sam's board state. We must be, because otherwise... Oh, well... Okay, a path exile response.
I think that's
really rough.
I think that might be it.
That kind of takes away the 1 win condition that David had, which was a fast twin. Now we're looking at some real creative gameplay here to get out of this corner.
Maybe. It could be time for Grave Titan. We just got an extra swamp out of our deck.
I think Grave Titan loses this race every time. I do.
Well, maybe today's the day. There's first for everything.
I mean, yeah. I mean, correct. He's dead on board if he plays a Grave Titan, right? He just swings in with all those zombies and Knight and hits him with a Johnny. Bolts him with a Johnny. Little lightning helix.
Don't worry about that.
Shh. Quiet, child.
Don't
worry yourself with the details.
We got to keep fighting. I really think that there's a splinter. I think the end of the game is going to see Dave McDarby reveal a Splinter Twin in his hand, and I will cry into my Cheerios.
I want to see a Wrath of God off that Gonti. Ooh. That's exactly what it is. It is a Wrath of God off of Gonti. Wildly speculated that was one of maybe the only outs he could have, and he did, in fact, have it. That's a big turn.
Okay, step 1.
Now, Grave Titan's still active, and now I believe with that 1 card drawn, unless I've miscounted, Shelldock Isle is, in fact, online, so David still really has his work cut out for him. Maybe more so than he knows.
Yeah, that was a Band-Aid. A good Band-Aid, but a Band-Aid nonetheless.
Justin, that's my first called shot on commentary ever.
I love it.
First day of commentary, first called shot.
I love it.
It feels real good.
Uphill from here, my friend. That feels good to cast a Wrath of God, not in your deck directly before you cast Grave Titan. Now, unfortunately, that second black still
locked down
McDarby.
And I mean, honestly, if Sam knew, I don't know. The Fractured Identity is going to be so good on that Grave Titan. I almost wonder if you just let him have it.
Well, I think the scariest thing,
Flash and an
Abyss-
Archangel Avacyn.
The problem is no longer going to be Grave Titan. It's
I
no
will
longer going to be
attack
Field of the
you,
Dead.
and you're
It's
dead.
no longer going to be.
That's just Avacyn and an activation from a Johnny. We're talking about what the alternative lines here. I've got my Corpse Dance.
We're going to show the twin. We have the twin in hand. Oh, there it is.
Twin.
Oh my gosh.
Corpse. Yep, he had it.
Saved by the path to exile.
So we see disruption of all kinds coming in essential in really all the games we've watched today. We see that mana leak in round 1 from Caleb.
Critical.
Absolutely critical, like deciding that game. Here we see the suite of answers from Sam Black being responsible for this. The game we saw Gavin take off of Sam in the previous, in round 1 was all about that Kaizo freebooter on Oko. Disruption good. You heard it here first. Maybe stop your opponent from doing stuff.
Don't just let them play their cards. Maybe do something about it. And as a reminder, this is a vintage powered cube.
Yeah.
So we are playing with the most powerful cards in Magic, and still
important.
And why I was including that.
I know,
and Time Twister, most powerful cards in Magic. And yet, interaction has ruled the day of what we've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of game states where I'm like, you know what this player would love to draw is a Doomblade. And
yes,
I would venture to say maybe players not even putting their Doomblades in their deck because they're opting for more powerful, splashy options.
It's going to be difficult. The matchup that we have left, I will admit, it's starting barely to look a little rough.
It's starting to look a lot like Cube's miss.
It's starting to look a little rough.
Team Wisconsin.
Maybe the tide has shifted just a hair.
Now, here's what I will say about round 3. We know that J-Bro has in fact done J-Bro stuff and drafted mono white aggro
as predicted.
As predicted by both of us. I mean, J-Bro has a brand. Let's just say. We also know that Gavin Verhey playing a mid-range deck of sorts. Maybe one of the most difficult matchups for that mono white aggro deck.
That is a good matchup that is definitely going to benefit. Gavin here.
Now, I, a lowly commentator, am not going to comment on the quality of these decks, but I will say that J-Bro was a lot happier with his deck after the draft than Gavin was. So take that for what it's worth.
Have you ever seen J-Bro not be excited about his deck?
No.
Just blanket statement.
I look at J-Bro and I think he's older than me, and he looks so much more full of life and so vivacious. What happened to me?
And he works in public service.
Right.
What a man.
One of the most soul-sucking places you can possibly work, just observing firsthand the brokenness of the American political system every day and still coming to the table with so much energy. I would say you love to see it, but I actually don't. It makes me jealous.
Not evenly distributed.
So that's going to be our round 3. Just to recap, we know from rounds we've watched on camera that Team Wisconsin has won. We saw 3 on stream, right?
We have seen it. We
speculated there was a really advantageous matchup for Team Wisconsin in round 2 as well. So we speculated there's at least maybe a 4th win there. And we're playing a team draft. First team to 5 wins is going to take it.
It is looking bad. It's looking bad. We're going to need at least 5 wins out of Team WoTC in this round, which is going to be tough.
Is there some sort of stipulation that if Gavin,
be really tough.
If Gavin turn 1s, it counts as 2 wins or something? Is that work?
That we still would be short.
That's true. Even to turn 1 twice.
Turn 1 twice.
With his green-black mid-range deck, find a turn 1 win.
Yeah,
that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I'm honestly, I'm ready for some aggro. Let's take it to the game. We don't want to bury the lead. J-Bro is on mono white, and it is your turn to name.
Oh, that's a great question. Let's call it, the full Brostov. How about that?
The full Brostov.
The full Brostov. I like that. Very typical. If you know Jonathan Brostov, if you know J-Bro, he is a menace on the ladder on MTGO, getting a lot of trophies every time that Magic Online Cube is live, and does a lot of that with mono white aggro. So very accustomed to this deck, very accustomed to this format. He's not going to be caught off guard, I don't think, by anything Gavin's going to be doing.
I would say not. So, and Gavin piloting, as we called it, the black mid-range plague. Full on mid-range, a lot of black cards, a lot of things that you're spending 3 and 4 mana on, and also Hex Trigger.
I'm going to check Gavin's pool real quick. So what I'm checking for here, and I'm seeing is I was wondering first if Plague Engineer was in the cube, and then if in fact Gavin got it, and it looks like it's not even in the cube. So Plague Engineer would be a great card in a matchup like this, and not an option.
And on theme.
Turn 1 Inquisition.
That is a Inquisition on turn 1 for a
Better than Thoughtseize when you're playing against aggro, maybe.
Absolutely. It's just, I mean, it's really, it can be brutal because a lot of times you are so reliant, especially with mono white aggro specifically, where
So-
you're so reliant on curve.
Just to recap, we see Brimaz, we see a Palace Jailer there, which is going to be very scary when we get to 4 mana. And is that an unexpectedly absent?
It is unexpectedly absent, and we have a him.
Oh,
We're really going to
Okay,
be,
I mean-
we're going to roll for the keep, as you do.
I mean, Gavin is doing what he needs to do, I think, to have a chance in this game.
and
Ooh.
it was a
Leaving him
sort
with
of body
Palace
and mind.
Jailer is kind of rough.
And land off the top.
Is
which
that just a Leonin Relic Warder that's in play right now?
I
Going
think
to combat?
It is.
Just
It is a Leonin Relic
just
Warder.
doing the attacking and blocking thing. Well, just the attacking thing, really. Let's be honest. But all Gavin needs right now, I mean, he can't cast Courser of Crufix just yet, but a Courser of Crufix is going to be really good in this matchup.
We've been joking about it, but Courser, despite its appearing only in losses, has done well for what it's working with.
Gavin in the tank does not have a slam dunk move this turn. Jonathan
Are you sure?
Jonathan is such a ham, and it's a bone shredder, the original Shriek Maw.
And this is
This is boy oh boy.
and
Now this is exactly where you do not want your opponent to cast a Palace Jailer. You have no threats on board. Jonathan Brostoff is now drawing 2 cards a turn in his aggro deck. You shouldn't be allowed to do that in an aggro deck. I'm gonna go out and say it. You shouldn't be allowed to draw
and
2
this
cards a
is-
turn.
and
What a
this-
ham for the camera too.
and just absolutely slamming that card and playing his lands as though he's playing Magic as a 12-year-old on carpet in his parents' living room.
That's exactly the energy he's coming to the table with.
Yep.
We see a Kaiso Freebooter whiffing from Gavin. Also not really what you want to be doing.
Now, Kaiso Freebooter is going to be able to take back that Monarch
That is- I
momentarily.
mean, flying is relevant. At the very least, you get to draw a card.
I believe that Palace Jailer is still on the battlefield, and
What happened here?
I'm sure Magic Online will catch this in a second.
What happened here?
I
didn't
think
see a thing cast.
he just put it in his graveyard on accident. It should be on the battlefield,
I feel like that's the kind of thing J-Bro doesn't do, though.
even though there. I mean, I don't think we saw a blink on. Yeah. That should still be on the battlefield.
What happened?
Judge is getting
I mean,
taking
if
care of it.
no, I'm sorry. Wait, no, he got the Monarchy back, which gets the creature back that was exiled under Palace Jailer, which kills the Palace Jailer. That's exactly what happened.
Right on.
So that
Bone
is
Shredder did come back. Okay,
that's
Quick.
exactly how that works.
quick.
Ooh, we see a Skyclave Apparition and a Mother of
Mom.
Runes. Pretty good 1-2 for J-Bro here,
And-
though. Gavin will be drawing a couple cards here off the Monarch token.
And Skyclave Apparition immediately taking out the scourge of mono white in Courser of Crufix.
Now, Palace Jailer is a messed up card, but we may see in this game the inherent risk of playing with the Monarch. If you get it stolen from you against another creature deck, you're going to lose to your own effect sometimes.
We may see it being traded back and forth because J-Bro has no cards, so it might actually be worth the risk.
Tap that Mom.
That's right.
Protection from black. Get in
That's right.
there.
Get in there. 2 damage, let me draw a card. I'm going to give it right back to you, but it's better than you just drawing
Looking
and
like
me drawing none.
3 cards in Gavin's hand. A Bone Shredder disappears, not paying the Echo cost on that. Echo, what a dumpster fire mechanic. Truly not a fun thing to do. Not a fun mechanic to play with.
Look, you got to balance out the good ones with the bad ones. Ooh.
They can't all be bangers. And here we see swift end to J-Bro's mother.
And we have a, in case you're wondering if we're going to see a chump block, we have a Mutavault back for Gavin and J-Bro, as we had predicted, going to be really difficult for this.
Yeah, he doesn't want to play that out. He
mid-range.
knows he's an aggro deck. He's going to be drawing Savannah Lions off the top. Not going to be able to come back from a dominant board presence and drawing a card, extra card every single turn. So the Monarchy kind of biting him in the butt here.
Yeah, he did draw a couple, but quickly realizing was not going to be able to regain it without a lot of extra effort, and probably better off just to save some time and pluck some cards out of his sideboard that he might like. What would those be if you were J-Bro? What might you be looking for in his sideboard? As I, of course, ask you that question when you don't have the deck list ready.
Well, I mean, so we've talked about how this is maybe one of the more challenging matchups for an aggro deck, and that's because you're playing a lot of small creatures that can be just outclassed by a Courser of Crufix.
Gavin's got a lot of toughness.
He's got a lot of toughness,
and
we just saw Murderous Rider, which is lifelink as well as a removal spell. So I think Jonathan's going to be looking for any way to get around those creatures. We see he's already main decking, of course, his Palace Jailer and his Skytide Apparition, two of the best Fiend Hunters we've ever seen. If he's got any other interaction for permanents in play in that sideboard, he might want to bring them in. And it's not crazy to think he wouldn't have those all in the main deck, because in a control matchup, in a combo matchup, those are just dead cards. So it's entirely possible he does have some things in the sideboard there that he can bring in.
Definitely. I generally, I am honestly, and Palace Jailer is it's a card, that people are split on, not because of how good it is. Well, I guess because of how good it is, but potentially being too good in some cube environments. And that's certainly the case. I, for one, am a fan of, okay, and so I want to pause real quick. What we just saw, Gavin showing J-Bro the failed draft from Pack 1.
Which he showed him his sideboard.
He showed him his
sideboard of all the I mean, honestly,
Time Spiral
in this matchup, I think I'd rather be playing Gavin's deck than the beautiful High Tide deck he could have had.
Absolutely not close.
Yeah. So last game, we saw a mulligan from J-Bro and then Inquisition into him from Gavin. And that was what he needed to get a big leg up in the beginning of that game, plus having a way to steal the Monarchy back. So he kind of had everything. He had everything he wanted.
Gosh.
Chrome Mox tucking Kithian to play a turn 1 Seeker of the Way, it looks like.
That is Thalia.
Or is it Thalia?
That is Thalia. And
so many arts of that card now I can't keep up.
It's because
That's the original art.
It's from Masters 25. It's got the
you can see the Dark Ascension watermark. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Now, again, how good is Thalia against Gavin's deck? We saw a few spells in game 1, but we also know that some of the creatures might be the bigger issue for Jonathan.
I would say that if I have a chance to play it on turn 1, I'll just do that.
Yeah, I would do it too.
Okay, so Freebooter.
That's a creature,
swing
and
and
we
a miss.
swing and miss.
Ooh.
And we see the Palace Jailer, which is now going to come down.
down.
Monarchy looking a little better right now, I dare say.
I would say that is the case. And I would not be surprised to see, I was going to say, I would not be surprised to see a pass from J-Bro. He just needs to untap to be confident that he's going to be able to keep this Monarch. This is
He wants to go to the late game now, and so we're looking for some kind of some big answer out of Gavin right now. And with that Thalia in play, it's going to be hard to have that answer be spells, which is what most answers are.
No removal coming to take Thalia's soul here. That's gonna stay firmly intact.
First Strike, very relevant in this kind of matchup.
Yes.
We see a Hex Drinker. Okay. Not an answer strictly speaking, but definitely a good card that J-Bro needs to be aware of. Now, Gavin does not know the contents of J-Bro's hand. He knew the Palace Jailer, which has since been cast. So he's hoping he gets to untap with this.
Could this be a sword?
That is a Hero of Blade Hold, which is going to get haste thanks to Lightning Greaves. And J-Bro says, guess what? I don't care about the Monarchy anymore.
All right.
Go ahead. Take it.
So
I dare you.
We're gonna be looking at game 3 here in about a turn and a half.
Probably, yeah. Trying to imagine the kind of card you'd need if you're Gavin in this spot.
Yeah, that's up to how quickly Gavin feels like conceding.
Is Gavin on Deluge? Probably not, right?
It's a good question.
Let's see. Do we have Deluge in the pool?
So we are attacking for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
No Toxic Deluge in Gavin's pool.
Casual 12, Gavin saying no problem. I'll go to 5. J-Bro taking his draw. Okay, Gavin sacrificing. I think we might be seeing a Guy's Cradle here to jump up on mana, which is exactly what we see. And there has to be a big play coming out of Gavin because Gavin just took this 12 and said, yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
So we got 4 mana, potentially going to 5. And I have to imagine there's a sledgehammer coming. J-Bro
singing the praises of Lightning Greaves.
Showing us the Lightning Greaves. And we see it, buddy. It was
Would you call Lightning Greaves a time walk? It did allow that Hero of Bladehold to attack 1 turn sooner.
Caleb would.
Mm-hmm. Swords to Plowshares under the Kitesail Freebooter. Pretty good hit.
Yeah.
Pretty good hit,
actually,
all things considered.
I mean, honestly, a really necessary hit.
Yes. I mean, stopping everything at this point is necessary. Now, I assume that Chrome Mox is surely tapped. Otherwise, we would have certainly seen that Source of Plowshares on the Hexdrinker, right?
I don't think it's tapped. He cast a 4-mana spell last time.
That's true. He played the. So why didn't we see that? I wonder. What am I missing here?
I don't know.
Tireless Tracker on top.
Gain a life. Gonna need that.
Courser is very relevant in this matchup, though we are looking at a very intimidating board state with that battle cry and all those soldiers coming in.
Thali attacks.
Oh, right. Thali attacks. That's
Yeah,
why you
thank
can't.
you.
Thank you, production.
Yeah.
That's why you can't cast that Source of Plowshares.
Oh, we have a collective brutality. That is a good one.
I like Collective Brutality, all 3 modes against aggro. So you know what? I don't need
Yeah.
these cards. What I need is you do not have cards, me to have some life, and you be get rid of one of your creatures.
And obviously, we didn't need to do the duress mode as we have an elite spellbinder in hand, which is going to be relevant because we got a flying creature on the other side, and that's exactly how Gavin nabbed that
Monarchy in the last game.
that monarchy.
Ending with some fireworks here in round 3, it looks like.
Yeah, I thought J-Bro was going to be off to the races. And
He had a pretty dominating advantage there for a bit, but Gavin calling it back.
And now you know what we see.
Very disciplined.
We see 3 creatures and 1 more in hand with higher toughness than powers, which is
Here's where I'd be calling a judge. If you name the Murderous Rider with Elite Spellbinder, it does not tag Swift End, right? Because it's not the spell of that name.
That is correct. Thank you, Throne of Eldraine again.
Do some math.
Gavin going to need some creative
Yep,
blocks.
and math wins the day again.
Yeah.
Hate when those numbers do that to you.
Yeah, Matt's undefeated, unfortunately.
Well, going to game 3, I am looked through all of Gavin's pool here, and I'm not seeing any silver bullets in the aggro matchup. We don't have a Toxic Delucicide into here. We have a lot of cards that are just very good against it.
Yeah.
Not a silver bullet. We have Ravenous Chupacabra. We have Bone Shredder. We have Collective Brutality, which we just saw. We have the Courser of Crewfix. A lot of ways to just slow down the aggro deck enough that you can eventually get the value and outpace them.
Well, you know, Gavin already, like we said, set up to draw just naturally cards that are going to be very good against J-Bro. Even though we were ready to put a nail in the coffin of Gavin after that last turn.
Fought it back.
Fought back, lost the game ultimately.
Yeah.
But the fact that took a turn, just
Had a couple
12,
more turns. Yeah.
just took 12 and said, you know what, I'm not done. I got some game left to play. I think Gavin that was a turn 1 Thalia off of a Chrome Mox, which accelerated everything. It literally accelerated because he had Lightning Greaves the next turn.
Yeah, so was that a turn 3?
It sure was.
It was a turn 3 Palace Jailer.
It was turn 3 Palace Jailer.
And then a turn 4 Hero of Blade Hold.
Yeah.
Put the Greaves on it. Bash you.
So with Gavin on the play,
makes a very big difference in this matchup.
Very big difference. That game would have been very different.
Absolutely.
With Gavin on the play. So I think this is the bad matchup for J-Bro. So
boy, J-Bro is going to be absolutely devastated
to lose
if he
only
loses on camera.
Yeah.
After I guess we can. Who knows how he did in the previous rounds? We'll talk about it later. But let's just say he'll be crushed to lose on camera, I think.
Yeah,
so
we will. I would hate for us to see.
Okay, he's trying to show us his hand. Doesn't know where the camera is. Real embarrassing here. Okay, we're looking at a Swords of Plowshares, an Ancient Tomb, a Stoneforge Mystic.
Right.
I hope that Gavin can't hear
appreciate
me.
it.
I'm kind of loud. My voice tends to carry. Urza Saga in Jonathan Rostov's deck, which is a card
Oh my
I love
gosh.
in aggro
I really
decks.
can't wait to say, J-Bro, you lost all of the games, all the matches we watched on coverage. of
Every
you.
game
single
I've
one.
seen J-Bro, every match I've seen him play, he
lost.
lost so far. Turn 1 Urza Saga is not what I like to see, unfortunately.
However,
we do have
we have a Chrome.
we have the Chrome Mox. We also saw the Ancient Tomb to follow it up with. So
So yes,
We
normally don't like to see.
we get a sword
with Stoneforge
with our
Mystic.
Stoneforge Mystic. We are on the Urza Saga beatdown
Now,
plan.
would you say that Sword of Feast and Famine is going to be good against Gavin's deck?
I'd have to read the rules text of that card and see if any of it was relevant to the black-green mid-range deck.
Now, while Gavin's deep in the tank of contemplating his life choices in this draft right now, I want to ask you your opinion on swords in general. How do you feel about those in cubes?
I generally don't love protection in my own environments.
Yeah.
I find that protection can be a little bit tilting, especially because, in this case, it's not like J-Bro said, you know what, my deck is soft to green-black. I should draft this green-black sword. He took whatever sword he could get, and it happens to be a silver bullet in his matchup. Dear. Oh, dear.
Gavin's like, put that sword in your hand.
This is literally a Mind Twist on turn 2 for 1. I desperately hope I hit Sword of Feast and Famine.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Taking the dice off your Urza Saga just as a sign of disrespect.
We could see a concession. Flip it over, my friend. Just flip it. Let's have a game.
It's Swords to Plowshares. The other swords. And not looking great for Gavin here.
Gavin, when he requested his wish from the genie, was not specific enough. That'll get you.
Now, I just make a construct here. Are you doing anything different?
I'm probably going to put that Sword of Feast and Famine on the battlefield.
I think I'm waiting. I want my constructs out of my Urza Saga, but maybe I'm too conservative.
You're doing it at the end of turns. It's dependent. It's my point. Are they tapping out? Are you tapping out? Okay. Now I'm going to put
Kitchen Finks. Kitchen Fink's a very good card in this matchup, though. I don't know if it's going to be able to overcome this pretty ideal hand from J-Bro.
You can do, yeah. Oh, you know what? You're right. I forgot there was an Ancient Tomb. Yeah. Because you make a construct, and then you can put in the sword and equip and attack.
Well, this turn he had to make another construct on get Mana Crypt off of. Oh my goodness gracious!
He didn't have to. He could have just made it equip and attack. Either way,
yeah. If he wants a second construct, which he chose to get, he chose to get the second construct on the beginning of his first main phase in response to that trigger.
The answer is he's going to have it all. Period.
I think you can wait to cast that sword. I mean, you know it's coming down. I find there are a few things
Elite
more.
Spellbinder.
Elite Spellbinder. And Gavin's body language telling the whole story here.
All right.
Looking at 3 lands, a taxed Yawgmoth after you turn 2, just cast a Mind Twist for 1.
We've all been
That's
there.
how you know Magic is not going your way today.
We've all been there.
Ignoble Hierarch off the top.
Look, you ain't gonna be blocking.
That's
get that 4 damage.
That's a thing with toughness. I was gonna say power and toughness, but really just toughness.
Yeah, mostly just toughness.
And now is the sword turn, unless J-Bro wants to otherwise demoralize Gavin. There's nothing more demoralizing, I think, than seeing the silver bullet you can't beat early on, and then your opponent plays many turns without even casting it, and then you know it's going to be coming at some point. That's a really tough pill to take in Magic.
It's a tough look.
All right, so I assume we're seeing the sword turn here. And yep, sword is in play. It is equipped to the Elite Spellbinder. It's got flying just to make extra sure we're getting in, even though we have protection from all of Gavin's deck and board. Gavin's going to scoop it up. That is too much. Too much.
It's too much for me.
What a start. That was quite an opening hand. We can see why J-Bro was wagging in our face like a child that just found a salamander in his backyard. Thrilled to show us that disgusting hand.
He knew. He knew what he was getting.
So we don't actually have the full records of all of the rounds. We should get them at some point. This seems like it's been a very decisive win for Team Wisconsin. It must be said. And we gotta check in on Caleb, who we followed through the draft. Haven't seen in the last 2 rounds.
It's true.
What was his record at the end of the day? I think he could have gone 3-0.
What do you think? What do we think based on what we've seen? What do we think the final record is out of 9 matches? There's 9 matches played.
7-2. That's my guess.
You know what?
7-2.
I hate to say this.
You're gonna say 8-1?
I'm gonna say it's 8-1.
That was the other number I was considering. I was between the two, but
I appreciate your restraint of saying, you know what, I think they got 2, but from what
Magic
we've
is a game of variance. You know, people can get mana screwed. You draw the wrong cards, but that was a pretty dominant performance by Team Wisconsin, who I must say, you know, as an outsider, seemed a little stacked. Like just looking at the team breakdown, I was like, really, you're gonna put all them on the team? Okay, I mean, I guess. But it's J-Bro's event, so I guess he just wanted to stomp everybody. He did go home with the trophy.
Hey, he did pick the teams for this.
Well, I mean,
he did specifically
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
that tracks.
It's okay. You know what? I mean, he's still gonna. I think off camera that J-Bro and Caleb should have a grudge match to see if J-Bro can reclaim the Wisconsin Supreme.
Well, they must have played. They must have played in round 2, so we should know the outcome of their match because again, this is a team draft.
Team.
Oh, same team. My God, I keep getting this all confused. I agree. We should have a grudge match between the two of them.
Off camera.
Well, because it's for them. It's not for them. That's not
It's
for an
not for
audience.
us. It's not for
It's
us.
for honor.
It's
And
very,
when you're playing for
very
honor, you don't
personal.
need an audience.
It's very personal for them.
Yeah.
So that is, I think
team
we're
draft.
done. I think we're done. That is a
Can
team
we get
draft.
the final records? Do we have the final records from production?
Let's get. You know what?
just to let people know.
Hey, send Mr. Brostoff over
He'll
to
be thrilled to give us
to
the final
coverage.
records, I'm sure.
Please send him over to coverage. We have some questions for him.
I'll step out of the booth. We can do a winner
Actually,
interview.
you know what?
Justin.
I will. We got other matches are still playing. I will step out of the booth.
Justin, how could you? You're the
will-
veteran here.
Look, I will allow you as the person that has been rooting for Team Wisconsin.
That's true. He's gonna want. I mean, he thinks I was rooting for him this whole time. I mean, I was, but also I forgot who was on what team. So
That's fair. I was rooting for good magic, which I felt like we saw.
I don't think he's gonna watch the VOD. He's not gonna hear any of this.
Nah,
He's too busy.
Too busy.
He's busy. He's a public servant.
Too busy.
He played in those games. He doesn't need to watch it again.
This is really what I really am excited about for this event. Is we get to see for this. This is one flavor of Cube. This is
This is a mere taste of the weekend.
This is a mere taste of the weekend, and what we got.
Congratulations,
to see,
Jay, bro.
Thanks, sir.
Welcome.
Congrats.
Is the camera back on us?
Congrats. Yes, it's on
Camera's
us.
on. You've got an audience.
You got an audience.
So this is the prize. We're gonna get these cool posters, and the losing team is gonna have to sign something special for the winning team.
Playing for honor, playing for the disrespect of having to sign
that
your
is-
opponent's trophy.
That is
They get to frame it,
What
hang it on the
happens.
wall forever.
Yes. Sadly, I have to
Utter
also
devastation.
sign it from last night. Do you want to tell a story about last night?
I told it already. I told it.
We've-
That story's been
also
told.
gonna
We
because
jumped
of
at
that.
every opportunity to mention that you do not currently hold the Cube crown of Wisconsin,
No.
but I'm sure there will be more games in the future to fight for the right to wear that on your head.
Caleb is the Cube King of Wisconsin.
For now.
For now.
For now.
I suggested that maybe with these decks, you guys should have another exhibition match to see if you can try to get it back a little bit. But that's between
Ooh.
you guys.
That's going to be a rough
deck's
matchup
pretty
for
good.
Caleb, I dare say.
My deck's pretty good. I
That,
got
your hand was pretty good in that last game there.
That was
Yeah.
insane.
Nothing like a mind twist for X
Yeah,
equals
that is-
1 on turn
that
2.
is a-
Just praying to any god you believe in that you're going to hit that sort of feast and famine.
That made me a little sick to watch Gavin have to do that.
Yeah.
I mean,
and the fact that it was the
we
right
all
play.
would have done it. We
Yeah.
all would have
The
done it in
right
that
play,
spot.
The right play, and that just feels bad.
If only it had been a kite sail freebooter.
Feels
That
bad.
would have been pretty different.
Yeah.
Except we did also see a sort of splasher, so maybe it wouldn't have done it. Who knows?
I don't know.
Yeah, we had well, I'll say it like this. We appreciate Team WoTC coming out. We appreciate
Wow!
you know,
Wow!
I'll say it like this:
appreciate
we
them coming
appreciate
out.
them coming out to get stomped by us.
but I know that next year they'll be back in greater numbers. So we're gonna have to run
that's
this
true.
back.
That's
Next
true.
year they might send like Carmen Handy, Melissa DeTora, some of these ex-Pro Tour players might
And
be
then
all the
coming in
people,
here.
all the people that wanted to come this year that did not come, they could be coming next year.
Oh,
They're like,
just-
we
very
sent the design
headhunting.
team. Let's send the past Pro Tour members if we want to claim the crown at CubeCon.
and
So,
actually Emma's cube is featured.
That's true.
yeah, Carmen Handy's cube is featured here.
We have
Or
20,
Carmen, sorry,
26 cubes featured this weekend for CubeCon.
We're streaming all weekend.
We're streaming all weekend, Friday,
Tune
Saturday,
in.
Sunday. So here's what's going to happen. All right. We're starting today, tomorrow, 9 a.m. I think, Jay Bro, are you going to be in the booth to start the day?
Oh hell yeah!
Jay Bro's going to
I'm
be in the
bucking and
booth
bucking.
to start the day.
He'll be in
on
the booth,
commentary.
making up words, inventing new sounds you've never heard before.
Yes.
Just, like the Ned Flanders of magic is going to be in the booth here.
That's what they call me. That's the most common term I've ever heard from you.
Every single round for Friday and Saturday, one of myself or Andy or Jay Bro is going to be in the booth calling the action, and we're going to have a special guest commentator every time. There's a little Andy and I are going to be back in the booth together one more time, which we're
Mhm.
excited about.
You can't keep me away from Justin. I love this man.
So we have 26 cubes. You saw one of them. We got 25 more.
I mean, let's just say 26 cubes in the official event. There are
Oh, yeah.
countless other cubes in this room right now that people brought to play
Many being
inside
played
of this.
right now.
I would say pretty confidently there's never been more cubes in a single room than this one.
I think it's a pretty safe statement.
I think
mean,
so.
This is like one of the only cube-specific events that's ever happened to
It
my
is.
knowledge, and
It is.
we got people that came from all over the country and world. We got
And
people
world.
from Europe that came to this event,
Yes,
and
South
most
America.
people came with a cube in tow. So
they did.
Canada.
Multiple in some cases.
I know one person that brought 6.
Yeah.
I think that's 5 to
Crazy.
6 too many, but you know, call me
I would say that's an average.
call me conservative.
That's average.
So-
that's got to be the average.
We are going to be able to show you all of these cubes, not every single one, but we're going to show you about 8 more of these cubes over the weekend, spanning all of Magic, all of design. It's going to be really just a celebration of this format that we all love so much. We hope that all of you that are watching right now love it so much. Obviously, all of us here have made a lot of content for this format. We really want this to be a celebration of Cube. And that's what this is. And hopefully, if this is successful, and it looks like it's going to be, we'd be able to do this again.
I'd say it's already pretty successful. You see that Zealous Conscripts?
That's true. Yeah, yeah, that's going to be a tough play to beat on the
Triple
weekend.
assassin.
We already got some great clips for the montage at the end. We're making a montage, right? The best plays from the whole weekend.
Yeah, it's
Oh, yeah.
one shining moment of Cube.
Exactly.
So, this hopefully, as it continues on, this is the first year that people in the future that are watching now, maybe you have found this channel and you're not a huge Cube lover and you see this event and you're like, this looks like the most fun I could possibly have. You're right. First of all,
Yeah,
you're absolutely right.
Good eye.
But we'll be able to have this again. I hope, I pray to Erebos that this happens again, that we will be able to invite more people and everyone can come enjoy Cube the way that we do.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to bring you all weekend. This is a short one
tuned.
today. This is a short one today. This is
a little taste.
This is a taste.
A
This is a little
soupçon.
taste.
A soupçon of Cube.
Yeah, what that appetite?
We got the main event starting tomorrow morning, and tomorrow we will give you all of the details of how that is going to break down. I'm not going to spare you with it today because we're going to let Team Wisconsin bask in the glory show. This is
Hell
about
yeah.
them.
This
is
is
about
their
them.
moment.
There's their moment.
If you like Cube content, you'll have a great time tomorrow. And not only that, it's going to be a full day, but also we're going to have it on VOD so you can share it around, you can send it wherever. And we want to give a big shout out to CloudGo Ranger for doing the tech on this and hosting it.
Yeah,
we want to
fantastic
thank
job.
Ultra Pro and Dragon Shield for sponsorship, as well as Misty Mountain and Chill MTG and all of our wonderful sponsors. I don't have the sheet in front of me,
And
but
we got all of our sponsors. As you see below the card viewer right here, well, not on this screen, but below the card viewer, running all weekend, and we literally could not have done it without all of them.
Thank you very much. You believed in us, and we made it happen. And also, I want to say thanks to you guys for coming and being such great commentators. This is a team effort.
Well, you didn't hear us. Maybe we didn't do great.
Pleasure
I
to
know
do
you're-
it.
I know you're
You're gonna have to check the VOD.
You're like the Jonathan.
You're gonna have to
Grosso
check the
for Cube
VOD.
commentary.
Oh,
Okay.
undefeated on the day.
There you go. Seriously, this is a fantastic opportunity. As a ravenous consumer of Cube videos, there is so little paper Cube
Yes.
coverage out there in
Yes.
existence, and there is
Yeah.
so little opportunity to watch people play non-Magic Online cubes. As much as I love those cubes, there's so much more to this format than what you
So
may have
much
seen
more.
from Magic Online.
Yes, big time.
So do not miss it this weekend, and check the VODs later.
Well,
It's
and even
a
that,
great resource to have after the event is over.
and even something like the Proliferate Cube, which you have seen on Magic Online, is so different in real life.
It's
You
way
know how
more
many
annoying.
counters
It's so
we
much
have
more
to
annoying in
have?
real life.
You know how many little
Hey,
glass
The
Spoilers.
judge is going to be pulling their hair out, making sure we don't miss a trigger.
We ain't got that one on coverage. I'm gonna let y'all know.
Ooh, or
Justin
Yui.
plans.
Yui.
Justin
We
thought
don't.
ahead.
You got to too many dice.
Big brain
Okay?
time.
Too
He's
many
thinking
dice.
ahead. J-Bro's trying to sabotage this.
You know what? You can call that one, my friend. That's fine.
All right,
That's
yeah.
fine.
And we got a 13 -1 over here. We got the
Yeah.
Everyone,
Yeah.
you have to have your classic commentator abacus. We all
Oh
have our
my
commentator
gosh.
abacus at home, right?
yeah, you Cubicus.
9 a.m. Central tomorrow. That's when we're going to get started. We're going to run for like 12 hours each day. It's going to be wild. 3 cubes each day. We're going to cover the draft. We're going to cover all 3 rounds. We have guest commentators, cube celebrations. We have giveaways that we're going to start to do.
Yep, we have the giveaways.
We got the giveaways
Thank you
that
to
are
our
gonna-
sponsors.
that are going to start tomorrow. Thank you to our sponsors. Do not miss it.
See
Don't
you tomorrow.
miss it. And that's it for today. Yes.
Yeah.
We are done.
Also, I'll say one last thing. If you
Yes,
guys,
please.
if you guys want to see more stuff like this, if you want to see additional content like this, 2 things you can do: share the love on Twitter, share on social media, let other people see it, and also,
Smash that like button.
yeah,
Hit
smash
the
that
bell.
like button. Yeah, hit
Subscribe.
the bell, subscribe,
All the stuff.
all the stuff. But also use this as an opportunity to spread the word in your community, so that next year, when God willing, we run it back, we can have an even greater turnout, having more people come. So hype people up. Let them know. CubeCon 2023.
Well,
is the
this-
place to be.
This is what I was trying to say leading up to this event, is that I think most people in this room are like Cube fans. They
Oh,
identify as Cube fans. A lot of them brought their own cubes, but really, this is just a rare opportunity to come to a place and draft amazing new limited environments you've never played before. So
yeah,
next year, I want to see just drafters, people that don't care about Cube as a like design exercise. They just want to play good Magic. Just play good Magic. This is the best way to do it, I think. I'd rather be here than at Magic 30.
it's never scary to crack the Cube cherry.
Not close.
We know that there's more of you that are drafters out there than players.
That's right.
Yes,
That's right.
Ideally, we'd like 7 of you for each of us, because that would be a pretty good breakdown. You know, just run full pods all day. Everyone gets a Cube draft.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think we can make it happen. This is the first. This is the first step. The first CubeCon, hopefully of many, to celebrate what is, in my opinion, the greatest format of Magic.
The best format.
The best way to play it.
I'm going to say that's just true. That's not your
It's true.
opinion.
It's
That's
true.
just how it goes.
It's facts.
3 for 3.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Day 1 of CubeCon. We will see you for day 2 tomorrow, 9 a.m. Central Time on twitch.tv/KyleGoatRanger.
Wow.
Have a great night, everyone. We'll catch you in the morning.
Bye.